Chapter 48. Sword Intent Seed. After obtaining the Devouring Spirit Sword, Yi Fei finally understood the secret behind the evil demon Sword King's strength and his various crazy actions. The reason was the Devouring Sword Intent hidden within the Demon Sword. According to the information transmitted from the Demon Sword, the combination of the Devouring Sword Intent and the Devouring Sword Intent can actually kill the opponent and absorb the opponent's soul fragments. From there, one can obtain the opponent's powerful cultivation techniques and martial arts. Back then, the reason why Zhao Qianjun crazily challenged the 9 sects and 3 palaces was because he wanted to kill these experts and obtain the martial arts techniques hidden within their souls. It's a pity that this devouring sword intent is extremely difficult to comprehend. Even the Sword King of the past could only passively comprehend it through evil techniques and killing people. It took him more than 30 years to fully comprehend it. How much time do I have now? Yi Fei stroked the demon sword in his hand and shook his head with a bitter smile. Although the mysterious people outside couldn't enter, he also couldn't leave. After all, the 4 people were too strong. Even with the devouring spirit sword, he didn't have the confidence to safely deal with one of them, not to mention 4 of them. That's right, there was also Wang Liang as a lackey. Yi Fei, who was in the secret realm, didn't know that after he entered, 2 of the 4 mysterious people had been misled by Wang Liang and died in the sword formation. After discovering that someone had died, Wang Liang slyly took advantage of the chaos to escape the valley. He was probably still being chased by one of the mysterious people. There was actually only one mysterious person guarding outside the secret realm. However, there was only one. Yi Fei couldn't deal with it. The difference between the martial Dao realm and the martial master realm was too great. If his opponent was at the first stage of the martial Dao realm, he could still kill his way out. If it were those 4th or 5th stage martial masters outside, he could only wait to be instantly killed if he rushed out. Thus, Yi Fei gloomily discovered that the only way to leave the secret realm alive was to comprehend the devouring sword intent. Only then would he be able to display the true power of the devouring spirit sword and fight with the mysterious people outside. Since I can't get out of here anyway, it's not a bad idea to try to comprehend the devouring sword essence here. Yi Fei finally made up his mind. He had heard a long time ago that one could comprehend sword intent when they reached a high level of understanding of swordsmanship. Such people were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. At the very least, Yi Fei had never seen one before. Thinking about how he could comprehend his own devouring sword essence, Yi Fei was actually a little excited. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Yi Fei began to sink his spirit into the spirit-devouring sword, trying to comprehend the hidden sword intent. His consciousness entered a pitch-black space, and he could faintly feel a strong suction force. It was as if his consciousness was being sucked in and completely devoured. Yi Fei knew that it was the devouring sword intent. Now, he was going to use his consciousness to fuse with the sword intent. If he succeeded, it would mean that he had completely comprehended it. If he failed, his entire consciousness might be swallowed by the sword intent, and he would become a walking corpse. Comprehending sword intent was actually very risky. At the very least, this was the case for Yi Fei, who was in the lower realm of the martial Dao realm. Not daring to let his guard down, Yi Fei first carefully released a trace of his mind in an attempt to come into contact with the will of the sword. Then, he felt a terrifying sword light brutally devour his spiritual consciousness. Then, his entire consciousness was attacked by a terrifying willpower. Bang! In reality, Yi Fei's entire body was sent flying, and he heavily fell to the ground. He opened his mouth and spat out several mouthfuls of blood. The will of the sword Dao is indeed not that easy to comprehend. Especially now that I have comprehended it, it is the extremely domineering, devouring sword intent. If I want to succeed, it seems that relying on my perception alone is not enough. I still need the help of the undying sword spirit. Yi Fei wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and was not discouraged. He still had the undying sword spirit. No matter how domineering the devouring sword intent was, it was not as domineering as the sword spirit. As long as he could stimulate the black energy of the sword spirit and crazily increase his perception, Yifei believed that he would definitely be able to comprehend this devouring sword intent. However, the problem also arose. In order to stimulate the black energy of the undying sword spirit, he had to use medicinal pills. However, the undying sword spirit was extremely picky with its food. Right now, it was not a high-grade medicinal pill, so it did not even bother to absorb it. Looking at this mystic realm, Zhao Qianjun, the evil sword king, was truly ruthless. Not to mention medicinal pills, he was not even willing to leave behind a single stalk of spirit grass for his descendants. It wasn't that he didn't leave anything behind. Yifei suddenly noticed the sword formation that was still operating not far away. This sword formation was actually set up by Zhao Qianjun using his entire life's worth of cultivation. Every sword chi was condensed from the powerful sword intent within the Sword King's body. Yifei thought of a way. He was prepared to use the devouring spirit sword to passively devour the sword chi and see if it would have any effect. In any case, it's a desperate situation. There's nothing wrong with trying. Yifei held the devouring spirit sword. Very carefully, he re-entered the sword formation. Then, he realized that the devouring spirit sword was indeed the key to this sword formation. With the devouring spirit sword in hand, he did not need to stimulate the undying sword spirit, and the sword formation would not attack him. On the contrary, Yifei directly picked up the spirit-devouring sword and stabbed at the nearest floating sword chi. That sword intent was also instantly attracted and actively swallowed by the spirit-devouring sword. Then it transformed into a kind of strange sword essence and poured into his body. The undying sword spirit in his body was stimulated and also released traces of black energy. Although the amount was less than the medicinal pills, Yifei still succeeded. By absorbing the sword chi of the sword formation, he could indeed stimulate the energy of the undying sword spirit. Since that was the case, what was he waiting for? Hence, Yifei held the devouring spirit sword and started to absorb all the sword chi around him. Very quickly, more than half of the sword chi in the sword formation was completely devoured by Yifei using the devouring spirit sword. There was no longer any threat in the surroundings. At this moment, the black energy released by the undying sword spirit reached a state of saturation again. Yifei did not dare to delay and hurriedly sat down with his legs crossed. His consciousness once again sank into the devouring spirit sword and felt the devouring sword intent. With the black energy of the undying sword spirit, Yifei instantly felt that his body was different. If Yifei's consciousness had been as small as a spark in the past, then under the enhancement of the black energy released by the undying sword soul, Yifei's consciousness was now like a blazing torch. Within the devouring soul sword, the originally violent devouring sword essence was stunned on the spot. In front of the black energy of the indestructible sword soul, it was so scared that it did not move. It did not attack, nor did it resist. It actually just allowed Yifei's consciousness to comprehend it bit by bit. Boom. This situation continued for an unknown period of time. Perhaps it was 5 days, or perhaps it was 10 days. In any case, Yifei finally felt that he had completely understood the devouring sword intent. A surge of black sword light shot up to the sky from Yifei's body. Finally, it turned into a strange light spot and entered Yifei's mind before disappearing. I see. What was hidden within the devouring spirit sword was not the real devouring sword intent. It was only a sword intent left behind by the evil sword king to control the devouring spirit sword. He would never have thought that I would be able to use this intent to successfully understand the sword intent, and even form my own sword intent seed. Feeling the light spot disappear in his mind, Yifei was very satisfied. He also believed that in the future, this sword intent seed would germinate and form his own devouring sword intent. After understanding the sword intent seed, Yifei immediately felt that his connection with the devouring spirit sword had become even closer. This demonic sword was now like his hands and feet, and he could do whatever he wanted with it. However, Yifei did not stop there. In order to comprehend the sword intent, he had only used up more than half of the sword chi in the sword formation. There was still a small amount of sword chi that continued to circulate within the sword formation. Of course, Yifei would not waste this opportunity. Right now, he was prepared to completely absorb this small amount of sword chi and try to break through to the martial master realm. That's right. He would directly break through from the 9th grade of the martial path until he broke through to the martial master realm. This decision was incomparably crazy. Even if he had a black level Dantian, it was simply impossible to do so. Chapter 49. Breaking through to martial master. Break through to martial master now. Without stopping, Yifei closed his eyes again after comprehending the seed of sword intent. Seizing the time, he began to use the Devourer's sword to madly devour the sword chi in the sword array. This time, Yifei didn't have to walk around. The Devourer's sword emitted a terrifying suction force. Like a black hole, it quickly sucked in the remaining sword chi hidden in the sword array. Then, it devoured them one by one and turned them into the purest sword origin, which was then absorbed by Yifei. That's right, this wasn't true chi, but true essence, which was of a higher grade than true chi. Normally, when a martial artist broke through to martial master, the true chi in their body could be transformed into a higher grade of true essence. At the same time, according to the martial artist cultivation method, this true essence was divided into sword origin, saber origin, and other different names. As the evil demon sword king, Zhao Qianjun was a martial honorable expert. Even though the sword origin he left behind in the sword array had weakened over time, Yifei could still feel the enormous amount of sword origin he absorbed. Even if he couldn't completely refine the sword origin converted by the Devourer's sword, just refining 1/10 of it was enough to benefit Yifei immensely. Thus, in the following period of time, Yifei immersed himself in cultivation. He constantly used the sword chi in the sword array to refine it into his own true chi. Then, he used this true chi to continuously raise his cultivation level. This kind of refining was a long and boring process. In the beginning, Yifei was still calculating the time. Later, as his cultivation deepened, he was too lazy to calculate the time. He just continued to frantically refine the sword origin. In this period of time, Yifei smoothly broke through to the 10th stage of the martial path. However, he didn't stop. The 10th stage of the martial path was just a bridge. The key was to truly break through to martial master. Another few days passed. More than 10 days quickly passed. Yifei finally felt that even with his martial artist physique, he could go without food for a long time. His body's tolerance for hunger had reached its limit. If he didn't think a way to go out and find food, he might starve to death before he could break through to martial master. At this time, boom! Yifei was overjoyed to feel that the true chi in his body had finally accumulated to the maximum level. It was time to try breaking through to the martial master realm. Martial master, break through. Yifei's expression was solemn. He controlled all the true chi in his body and rushed toward the invisible barrier in his body. Unfortunately, the barrier was too difficult to break through. He tried to break through several times with his true chi, but he still could not break through. However, Yifei was not discouraged. He lacked everything here, but he did not lack true chi. Using the spirit-devouring sword, Yifei absorbed the sword chi of a few more sword formations to make up for the consumption of his genuine chi. Then, he continued to try to break through. The second breakthrough failed. The martial master realm is indeed not that easy to break through. Again, third time, breakthrough for me. Yifei had a determined look on his face. He quickly adjusted his state of mind and began to break through for the third time. Boom! This time, when the conditions were right, the vigorous, true chi instantly broke through the invisible barrier in his body. The true chi in his body began to spin and contract crazily. If the true chi of the martial Tao realm was like a stream of air, then the true essence of the martial master realm was like a river An endless stream of true qi was compressed and turned into a higher level of true essence. Like a river, it all poured into Yi Fei's dantian. Yi Fei immediately felt a terrifying, explosive power emanate from his body. This is the realm of a martial master. I feel that my current strength is at least 10 times stronger than before. Yi Fei was very surprised. However, he did not know that the two mysterious men waiting outside were already shocked. Big brother, what's going on? The sword formation of the secret realm seems to have collapsed. It must be that kid inside who has successfully obtained the Sword King's inheritance. Calculating the time, that kid has been inside for more than a month. If he doesn't come out, he will definitely starve to death inside. Second brother, go in first and check out the situation. The leading mysterious man instructed. Why me? The second mysterious man was not stupid. He had personally witnessed his two companions being torn to pieces by the sword chi inside. Get in and scout the way for me. We don't have much time left. If we delay any longer, the experts of Wu Province will find this place at any time. After waiting for more than a month, the leading mysterious man had completely lost his patience. A hint of viciousness flashed in his eyes as he kicked his companion into the secret realm. Big brother, don't. The second mysterious man was scared out of his wits. When he realized that he had been beaten into the secret realm, he did not dare to look back. He could only run for his life towards the end of the sword formation. At this time, Yi Fei had also refined the true essence in his body and stood up from the ground. When he saw the mysterious men rushing in from the entrance of the secret realm, his expression turned ugly. Oh no, it turns out that after absorbing the sword chi here, this sword formation will automatically self-destruct. However, these mysterious men are really patient. They've actually been waiting outside for so many days. Yi Fei muttered to himself. This time, he did not retreat. After breaking through to the martial master level and completely mastering the devouring spirit sword, he was slightly more confident in fighting these mysterious men. When a mysterious man who had rushed and found that he had not been killed by the sword formation and had successfully entered the secret realm, a hint of ecstasy flashed across his face. Ha ha ha! The sword formation is finally broken. The Sword King's inheritance is finally mine. Trash over there. The sword in your hand must be the Sword King's devil sword. You don't deserve to use it all. Kneel down immediately and obediently give me the devil sword. After his ecstasy, the mysterious man looked at Yi Fei with a vicious and ruthless gaze. Yi Fei ignored the man's clamor. He only looked at the ghost mask on his face and asked thoughtfully, "You know about this secret realm and are wearing the same mask as Zhao Qianjun. Could it be that you are from the Imperial family?" "That's right. We are all ghost guards of the Imperial family, just like the Sword King." "Trash. Since you know our identities, why don't you obediently give me the devil sword? That way, I won't torture you and let you die a quick death." The mysterious man cackled strangely. Although he was a little surprised to discover that he had broken through to the martial master level, he did not really care. He looked at Yi Fei with an incomparably arrogant gaze and said, "Trash, don't even think about resisting. I am a 4th grade martial master expert. If I want to kill a rookie like you who has just entered the martial master level, one hand is enough." "Is that so?" "That's what you said. Since you only want one hand, then keeping the other hand is useless. I'll help you chop it off." Yi Fei sneered when he heard this. Since this person wanted to kill him, he would not sit still and wait for death. He immediately brandished the devouring spirit sword, and a huge sword light slashed out. "Trash, you're courting death." The mysterious man was furious. Seeing that Yi Fei was so weak and still dared to attack him, the mysterious man immediately decided that he had to capture Yi Fei and ruthlessly torture Yi Fei to death. Just as the sword light slashed out, the mysterious man had a sinister smile on his face. He used a ghostly footwork to dodge the sword light and charged fiercely at Yi Fei. Yi Fei did not panic in the face of danger, nor did he make a move. The corners of his mouth curled into a strange smile as he coldly spat out a word. Slash! Puffed. The sword light that had been dodged by the mysterious man suddenly changed direction and instantly chopped off one of the mysterious man's arms. This was a small technique that Yi Fei had discovered after comprehending the seed of sword intent. He could use the seed of sword intent to adjust the direction of the attack of the sword chi, making it impossible for the opponent to guard against. The mysterious man was caught off guard and instantly chopped off one of his arms. He cried out in pain and looked at Yi Fei with shock and fear in his eyes. Sword intent? How is that possible? How can you comprehend sword intent at such a low level? The mysterious man's boss, who had rushed in after him, was also shocked. Chapter 50. Invincible sword what? Sword intent? Big brother, did you make a mistake somewhere? How could a piece of trash who just entered the martial master realm comprehend sword intent? The second mysterious man clutched his severed arm and looked at Yi Fei with hatred and fear. The leading mysterious man sighed and took off the ghost mask on his face. His appearance behind the mask was extremely sinister. Just like Zhao Qianjun, he was neither human nor ghost. Yi Fei was very surprised. He immediately thought of a possibility. You are all the princes of the Zhao kingdom? He was even more shocked. How could a prince become like this? Indeed, the royal family was the most heartless. That's right. We are all the twin princes of the Zhao kingdom. Thanks to the evil Sword King. After him, all the twin princes of the royal family will become like this. Not only will we lose our status as princes, but we will also lose our status as humans. The leading mysterious man said with incomparable hatred. The mysterious man with the severed arm also earnestly tried to persuade Yi Fei. Little brother, since you know our identity, then you should know that if you go against the royal family, you and your family will not have a good ending. If you can follow us back to the imperial city and honestly hand over the Sword King's inheritance to the royal family, the royal family will definitely reward you heavily. You can choose to be conferred the title of king or glory, splendor, and wealth. Seeing that Yi Fei could comprehend sword intent, the two mysterious men felt a trace of fear and dread towards Yi Fei. The records of the royal family clearly recorded how terrifying someone who could comprehend sword intent was. Zhao Qianjun was not the first person in the royal family to comprehend sword intent. Before that, the royal family had an even more shocking ancestor who had successfully comprehended sword intent at the age of 20. With the complete sword intent, that royal family member not only created a legend of killing a Martial Master Realm 10th stage expert as a Martial Master Realm 1st stage expert, but also alarmed the experts of the 3 Holy Lands. They all came to the Imperial City and fought to bring him back to the Holy Lands to cultivate. It was also because of the power of that ancestor that the royal family of the Zhao Kingdom was able to control the entire Zhao Kingdom despite the countless upheavals. At this time, seeing that Yi Fei could also comprehend the sword essence, the two mysterious men naturally had a trace of fear towards Yi Fei. They did not dare to shout at Yi Fei like before, but changed to being gentle. Yi Fei only sneered at this kind of conciliatory act. Do you think I'm stupid? You actually want to use this kind of nonsense to deceive me. In this world, what matters is strength. Without strength, everything is meaningless. If I really believed your words and followed you to the imperial city, I'm afraid that what awaits me wouldn't be the royal family's welcome, but the torture and interrogation of the royal family's experts. Yi Fei's words made the two mysterious men's expressions change drastically. They were all shocked. The person in front of them was clearly a youth, yet his temperament was so terrifying. He saw through their intentions with a single glance. That's right, they did not intend to recruit Yi Fei. They only wanted to trick Yi Fei into going to the imperial city. When they saw that Yi Fei did not fall for their trick and was not afraid of the royal family's power, the two mysterious men's expressions turned ugly. The leader of the mysterious men suddenly revealed a sinister expression. He stared at Yi Fei and shouted sternly, "Kid, since we can't trick you, we'll join forces to kill you first. Then, we'll take the Sword King's demonic sword." Big brother, you're right. I don't believe that he can comprehend the complete sword essence at such a low cultivation level. He even dared to chop off my arm. Let's join forces to kill him now. Great soul-searching hand. The mysterious man with the severed arm charged at Yi Fei again with a face full of resentment. Just because Yi Fei dared to chop off his arm, he would definitely tear Yi Fei into pieces. Frost Fist. The leader of the mysterious men sneered and attacked together. At the same time, he completely released his 5th grade martial master strength. A cold smile appeared on Yi Fei's face. You overestimate yourselves. If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Devouring sword essence, spirit devouring sword. Yi Fei growled. He instantly mobilized all of his true origin and frantically poured it into the spirit-devouring sword in his hand. That's right, he had not grasped the complete sword essence. He only had a sword essence seed. However, even a seed was not something that these two mysterious men could underestimate. This was because he still had the spirit-devouring sword in his hand. This sword had once slain 100,000 soldiers. This sword had once killed countless martial masters and martial ancestor experts. It was also this sword that had consecutively beheaded Tianyin Wufu and 3 other powerful palace lords. If such a powerful sword could be fully unleashed, its power would definitely be peerless. Rumble. There seemed to be lightning flashing in the void. The fully awakened, devouring spirit sword released an incomparably terrifying black sword light. This sword light was too terrifying. Yi Fei saw that the space in front of him was being cut apart. The mysterious man with the severed arm bore the brunt of the sword light. His entire body exploded on the spot when he came into contact with the sword essence. The mysterious man behind him also revealed a look of extreme fear. Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that not only had Yi Fei comprehended sword essence, but that Yi Fei could also control the terrifying spirit devouring swords so easily. No! The mysterious man was terrified. He screamed and turned to flee. He, who was a 5th grade martial master, had actually fled in fear because of Yi Fei's sword. He had even nearly wet his pants. Where do you think you're going? Didn't you want this demonic sword? I'll give it to you now. Rumble. Yi Fei gripped the spirit-devouring sword with both hands and swung it incomparably coldly. He then ruthlessly slashed down at the mysterious man who had turned to flee. This slash also instantly split the mysterious man in half. The scene was incomparably bloody. The strange thing was that just as the mysterious man died, a ball of white light was suddenly absorbed by the spirit-devouring sword and transmitted into Yi Fei's mind. It was actually the remnant soul fragment of the mysterious man after his death. Coincidentally, this fragment recorded the martial arts that the mysterious man had used before his death. Yi Fei immediately closed his eyes and comprehended this martial art. Moments later, he opened his eyes again and shook his head. Frost Fist, black rank low grade. It's not even comparable to my 13th sword style. It's useless to learn it. However, if I bring it back to the family Yi and give it to Uncle Jian to comprehend, it'll be a nice surprise. Then Yi Fei closed his eyes again and began to comprehend the soul fragment that the spirit-devouring sword had devoured. As a result, Yi Fei was very depressed when he saw it. This person's soul fragment didn't contain any martial arts at all. It was just a fragment of memory. Only then did Yi Fei realize that although the spirit-devouring sword could devour other people's souls, the content it devoured was random. It didn't necessarily give a martial arts cultivation technique. This was probably the reason why Zhao Qianjun had become a murderous maniac back then. It was because only by killing enough people could he obtain powerful martial arts cultivation techniques. However, through this fragment of memory, Yi Fei discovered why these ghost guards of the royal family would appear here. It turned out that the royal family of the Zhao kingdom had discovered this Sword King mystic realm a long time ago and had sent many experts to their deaths. In the end, they couldn't break into the mystic realm and obtain the demonic sword inside. The royal family didn't dare to attack this place with great fanfare. After all, Tianyin Wufu was nearby and had a deep grudge with the evil Sword King. If they knew that the evil Sword King's tomb was actually near Wu province, It was likely that all the experts in Wu province would come together and destroy this place. This matter had been delayed until recently. Princess Zhao Yu, who had always been very domineering, unexpectedly obtained the heavenly divine flame. She wanted to refine the heavenly divine flame and force her way into the mystic realm. Some ambitious people in the royal family couldn't sit still anymore. If Zhao Yu successfully obtained the Sword King's inheritance, there might be a second Sword King in the Zhao Kingdom. Then, she would be invincible and could seize the throne with just a word. Therefore, this ambitious person quickly colluded with a high-ranking elder in Wu province and worked together to stop Zhao Yu from refining the heavenly divine flame. He also secretly sent these 4 loyal ghost guards here. He wanted to take advantage of the fact that Zhao Yu didn't have time to care about this place, to open the mystic realm first and obtain the treasures inside. After reading all this, Yi Fei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. As expected of the royal family, this open and covert struggle is really eye-opening. What's depressing is that I seem to have a hand in it. Forget it. I can't stay here for long. I'd better hurry back to Wu province. However, after taking a few steps, Yi Fei suddenly remembered that when the sword array collapsed, he faintly heard the words of the 2 mysterious people. What were they talking about outside? They've been blocking me here for more than a month. Counting the time I've been in Wu province, it's almost 3 months. Oh no, Yi Fei shouted. He couldn't be bothered to return to Wu province anymore. He had something more important to do now, and that was to return to his family Yi. Chapter 51. Daughter of the Lord of the City. In 3 months, the family Yi would hold a family martial arts competition to select a new family head. Yi Fei didn't dare to be negligent. He didn't even take the main road. He directly passed through the edge of the Shirwan Mountains, crossed the mountains, and rushed towards the family Yi. Father, just you wait and see. Yi Tianxiong and his son killed you 3 years ago. Today, 3 years later, I will kill these 2 heartless bastards with my own hands to pay tribute to your soul in heaven. For several days and nights, Yi Fei kept running along the edge of the 100,000 mountain range. Coincidentally, the edge of this mountain range was the Blackstone Mountain Range. After passing through the Blackstone Mountains, Blackstone City was just outside. Crossing the mountains was also the fastest way to get back to the family Yi. It would be great if I could become a martial ancestor. It is said that a martial ancestor can condense chi wings and have the ability to fly. That way, the journey wouldn't be so tiring. 7 days passed by quickly. There were only 2 days left before the 3-month deadline. In 2 days, the family Yi would probably take action for the family martial competition. Yi Fei had to rush back at that time to seek justice for his father and son. Roar. The roar of a beast in the distance startled Yi Fei, who had stopped to rest. Looking in the direction of the sound, he could see traces of a battle along the way, as well as messy footprints. Strange, this is already the end of the 100,000 mountains, the deepest part of the Blackstone Mountain Range. Those that can appear here are either vicious beasts or terrifying demonic beasts. The clans in the Blackstone City don't even have a martial master. How could they have the guts to come here? Yi Fei's eyes flashed with a hint of doubt. He was about to ignore the situation there and continue on his way back to the family Yi. At this time, in a small forest not far away, the towering trees suddenly broke and fell to the ground in rows, accompanied by a burst of violent roars. 2 figures rushed out of the woods. They were a man and a woman. The man was a little fatty. He looked chubby and was panting as he ran. However, he was wearing a moon-white sect disciple uniform. The other young girl was also dressed in the same way as the little fatty. She also looked like a pretty girl from a humble family. She had a different kind of charm and vaguely gave Yi Fei a sense of familiarity. Thinking back carefully, Yi Fei couldn't help but laugh. Wasn't this the daughter of the city lord's mansion? When his father was still alive, Yi Fei had accompanied his father to Blackstone City's city lord's birthday celebration. He had seen Zhuang Ling once at the banquet. Zhuang Ling was considered one of the more famous geniuses in Blackrock City. However, unlike Yi Fei, Zhuang Ling, who had been sent to a sect to cultivate due to her connections with the city Lord Manor. It had been a long time since she had returned to Blackrock City. Yifei also didn't expect to meet her here. However, if Zhuangling could appear here, it meant that he wasn't far from Blackrock City. Following which, Yifei looked at the vicious beasts that were chasing Zhuangling. No, it should be a very powerful demonic beast. It looked a bit like a barbarian blood bowl. However, the barbarian blood bowl was black in color. The chances of it becoming a demonic beast were extremely low. As for the demonic beast that rushed out of the woods angrily, its entire body was snow white. It was also covered in a layer of scales with mysterious patterns. It emitted a white light, and there wasn't any demonic aura. What kind of demonic beast is this? I've never seen it before. Yifei was a little curious. In addition, he was very confident in his own strength, so he stood in place without moving. His sudden appearance gave Zhuangling, who was running for her life, and little Fatty, who was following behind her, a fright. The little Fatty was quite hot-tempered. Seeing that Yifei was blocking their escape route, he immediately scolded, "That brat over there, get out of the way. Can't you see that the deadly thing is about to catch up?" Zhuangling was also surprised. She didn't expect that in Blackrock City, other than her and her cousin, there would be someone who dared to go deep into the 100,000 Mountains. Even if this place wasn't as dangerous as the depths of the 100,000 Mountains, it was still a place where top vicious beasts and low-level demonic beasts roamed. Without strength, entering here was equivalent to courting death. Zhuangling had accidentally discovered a treasure beast. She really couldn't bear to give up this opportunity. Under her cousin's instigation, she took the risk and chased it here. Unfortunately, in the end, she still wasn't a match for the treasure beast. After fighting for a long time, the treasure beast became braver and braver as it fought. It looked like it was going to eat both of them in one bite. Zhuangling, who was no match for it, could only flee. She didn't expect to find someone else deep in the mountains. After hesitating for a moment, Zhuangling hurriedly reminded Yifei, who was standing in place, "Young master, hurry up and run. The treasure beasts behind are very powerful. They are at least at the second level of the martial master realm." Yifei stood in place without moving. In fact, he did not plan to interfere in this matter. However, Zhuangling did not forget to remind him at a critical moment. This made him have a slightly better impression of this city lord's daughter. In the end, the family still wanted to survive in Blackrock City, so they couldn't have a stiff relationship with the city lord's mansion. The most important thing was the information that Zhuangling had revealed just now. This demonic beast that he didn't recognize was actually the rumored treasure beast. It was said that the beast core of a treasure beast had the ability to forcefully raise a martial Dao realm expert to the martial master realm. Yifei was worried that he had returned in a hurry and didn't bring back a good gift for Uncle Jian, who had been taking care of him. If he could bring back the beast core of this treasure beast, it would definitely be of great help to Uncle Jian. Thank you for the reminder. Are you still going to fight this treasure beast? If you don't, I'll make my move. Yifei asked as he looked at Zhuangling, who was about to run past him. As for the treasure beast that was about to rush over, Yifei didn't even put in his eyes. What's there to fight about? We've been fighting for a long time, and we haven't even heard it. If you want to die, go by yourself. Don't blame my cousin for not reminding you. So this little fatty also had a deep relationship with the city lord's mansion. No wonder he was with Zhuangling. Young master, are you also from Blackrock City? I advise you not to have any ideas about this treasure beast. My cousin is right. Our current strength is still too low. We are no match for this treasure beast. Zhuangling was still relatively kind as she reminded Yifei once again. After all, she was the one who had lured this treasure beast over. Zhuangling didn't want Yifei to lose his life in vain because of her. Thank you for the reminder. You guys can leave first. If you don't want this treasure beast, I want it. Yifei nodded at Zhuangling. With large strides, he walked towards the treasure beast. This treasure beast was like those spiritual herbs that could raise the quality of one's dantian. It was something that could only be encountered by chance and not sought. Since he had encountered it, Yi Fei would definitely not give up. He was determined to obtain this treasure beast. At the same time, he could also save Zhuangling, Er's life, and sell a favor to the city lord's mansion. It could be considered as killing two birds with one stone. It can't be. Is that kid crazy? The two of us, who are first-grade martial masters, joined forces and still couldn't hurt that treasure beast. Isn't that suicidal for him to go alone? The little fatty was panting as he ran. At this moment, his face was filled with shock. He thought that Yi Fei was either crazy or a fool. The two of them, who were martial masters, couldn't deal with the treasure beast, yet Yi Fei wanted to deal with it alone. Cousin, don't say that. If we hadn't lured this treasure beast over, that person wouldn't have been so impulsive. If he died in the beast's mouth because of this, how can we be at ease? Zhuangling was kind-hearted and didn't want her mistake to cause the death of an innocent person. Chapter 52. Senior Master. No, I have to go and help him. Zhuangling couldn't bear to see Yi Fei go to his death alone. She wanted to help him now. This terrified the little fatty who was still gasping for breath, and he hurriedly persuaded bitterly. Cousin, don't go. We've finally escaped the pursuit of that treasured beast with great difficulty, and we'll only be giving our lives away if we go now. We can't just die here, right? But we can't harm others. Zhuangling insisted. Seeing that he couldn't persuade her, little fatty rolled his eyes and immediately thought of a good idea. He said slyly, Cousin, I didn't say that I wouldn't help. Why don't we take a look first and see how that person's strength is? If his strength is barely passable, then the three of us can work together to take care of that treasure beast. If his strength is inferior to ours, then it's useless for us to go up. Cousin, how can you do this? Zhuangling's expression turned ugly. Of course, she understood the little fatty's hint. He wanted to observe Yi Fei's strength first. If Yi Fei was strong enough, his cousin would go up and help him take advantage of the situation. If Yi Fei was weaker than them, this cousin would definitely turn around and run away. He was clearly an opportunist. As the daughter of the city lord, Zhuangling didn't have the face to do such a thing. She immediately stomped her feet and rushed forward. Cousin, it's fine if you don't want to help. I'll go up myself. Cousin, you're being silly. The little fatty had a pained expression, but when he saw Zhuangling's actions, his expression changed a few times. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, Cousin, wait for me. If I die, then I die. I may be fat, but I'm not a coward. Boom! At this moment, Yi Fei had already collided with the treasure beast. What surprised him was that his punch was actually unable to cause any harm to the treasure beast. The layer of scales on the treasure beast's body was also extraordinarily hard. Taking advantage of the fact that Yi Fei's punch had missed and he was still in a daze, the treasure beast roared and opened its mouth to spit out a pillar of fire, attempting to burn Yi Fei to a crisp. Yi Fei's expression immediately turned serious. No wonder Zhuangling, and the other two martial masters couldn't defeat this treasure beast and were almost killed instead. It turns out that this treasure beast not only has a high defense, but its attack is also not weak. However, the more it was like this, the more it stimulated Yi Fei's fighting spirit. Dodging to the side, Yi Fei's body flashed, and he was already in front of the treasure beast. Grand Desert Gale, Divine Fire True Essence. Yi Fei growled and immediately activated all the variant True Essence in his body. This time, he did not use the 13th sword style. After all, he wasn't familiar with Zhuangling yet. Unless it was necessary, Yi Fei didn't want to reveal his trump card in front of outsiders so quickly. Even so, Yi Fei's strength was still more than 10 times that of an ordinary first-stage martial master. He punched out. Yi Fei's quintessence, which had already merged with the divine flame from beyond the heavens, immediately turned into a ball of purple flame. It burned fiercely on Yi Fei's fist. That terrifyingly high temperature left a pitch-black mark on the tough scales of the treasure beast. Even the skin and flesh were burned. Roar! The treasure beast let out a painful roar as it retreated. The gaze it used to look at Yi Fei with had already changed from ferocity to fear. This treasure beast could not understand. The human in front of it was clearly only a first-stage martial master. How could he destroy its scales and release such a terrifying flame? Little Fatty, who had already rushed halfway, saw this scene and his eyeballs almost popped out. Was he seeing things? The treasure beast that he and his cousin were unable to deal with was actually pushed back by Yi Fei with a single punch. I remember why he looks familiar. He looks like Yi Fei that I've seen before. Zhuang Ling covered her mouth in shock. She didn't know if she should continue to help. It can't be. Yi Fei, is he the son-in-law that Uncle City Lord introduced to you in his letter? He doesn't look like him. No matter how much of a genius he is, there's no way he could have broken through to the martial master realm in just 3 months. But other than Yi Fei, I really can't think of anyone else who looks like him, Zhuang Ling said with a little vexation. Plop. Yi Fei, who was fighting with the treasure beast in front, suddenly somersaulted and almost fell to the ground. He had heard the conversation between the two clearly, especially when little Fatty said the words son-in-law. Even though Yi Fei had a strong will, he was momentarily dazed. It can't be. When did I become engaged to the city lord? How come I didn't know about it? This shocking news also caused Yi Fei to be momentarily stunned. The treasure beast in front of him also keenly grasped this flaw. With a roar, another huge pillar of fire surrounded Yi Fei. Be careful! Seeing this scene, Zhuang Ling, and little Fatty's expressions changed. The reason why they were unable to defeat the treasure beast was because the treasure beast's pillar of fire was extremely powerful. It could even burn through stone. Now that Yi Fei was completely surrounded by the pillar of fire, his outcome would definitely not be good. Zhuang Ling, could not bear to see it and closed her eyes. Little Fatty also prepared to flee with Zhuang Ling at any time. Boom! Just as the two of them thought that Yi Fei would definitely be burned to death, the pillar of fire suddenly exploded and Yi Fei's figure, which was burning with purple flames, walked out. Damn it, I was just slightly distracted and you dare to launch a sneak attack. Since that's the case, let's see whose flame is stronger. The quintessence in his body circulated wildly, following which, Yi Fei turned into a purple flame giant and charged directly into the center of the pillar of fire. With a punch, the pillar of fire in the sky shattered into sparks. At the same time, a purple divine flame smashed into the treasure beast's body. The treasure beast cried out in pain. The power of the divine flame was something that even the treasure beast, which specialized in fire, could not withstand. Not only did Yi Fei's punch directly burn through the treasure beast's head, but he also quickly reached out his hand and grabbed it forcefully. A ruby-like crystal appeared in his hand. This was the treasure beast's beast core. It was said that after consuming this beast core, one could unconditionally break through from the martial warrior realm to the martial master realm. Such a treasure might not be much in Tianyan Wufu, but in a small place like Blackrock City, it was a priceless treasure. Little Fatty, who was standing in the distance, was so envious that his eyes turned red. He originally wanted to take advantage of the situation, but in the end, before he could do anything, Yi Fei instantly killed the treasure beast. That's not right. He shouldn't be Yi Fei. Killing a second-grade martial master treasure beast in one move is not something Yi Fei can do. Even third-grade or fourth-grade martial master experts might not be able to do it. Could this person actually be a senior expert? Zhuang Ling guessed. It seemed like this was the only reason that could explain how Yi Fei could kill a second-grade martial master treasure beast in one move. Little Fatty was terrified when he heard that Yi Fei might be a wandering senior expert. He might even be an old freak who had regained his youth. He recalled that he had just scolded Yi Fei. Little Fatty hurriedly scowled miserably and ran over to Yi Fei. Senior, please spare me. I didn't mean to offend you. Please forgive me this once. Senior, could you be an elder of Tianyan Wufu? Zhuang Ling walked over and asked Yi Fei nervously. Chapter 53. Back to the family Yi from Zhuang Linger's words. Yi Fei knew that the city lord's daughter didn't recognize him. He couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief and casually found an excuse to hide his identity. Don't worry, I'm not an elder from Wu province. I'm just an inner court disciple who came out to gain experience. My name is Zhou Guang. Yi Fei decisively used Zhou Guang's name. After all, Zhuang Linger had returned this time to have a blind date with him. If she found out that he was Yi Fei, then the situation would be too awkward. So it's senior brother Zhou. Zhuang Linger smiled sweetly at Yi Fei. When she heard that Yi Fei wasn't a senior who had regained his youth, but a young man who was about the same age as them, for some reason, Zhuang Linger felt a burst of joy. Seeing that Yi Fei was so approachable, little Fatty was also relieved. He asked Yi Fei with a face full of gossip, "Senior brother Zhou, I want to ask you something. Do you know that there's a disciple in Wu province called Yi Fei? How's his strength and character? Compared to me, is there a big difference?" "Cousin, why are you asking about this?" Zhuang Linger couldn't help but blush when she heard this. Little Fatty said eloquently, "Cousin, I'm doing this for your own good. From what I heard, the city lord wants to marry you off to that Yi Fei. I'm just helping you check in advance." "Cousin, don't talk nonsense. Who said I'm going to marry the Yi Fei? Father only wants me to go back to Blackrock City to take a look. I won't agree to such an unreasonable marriage. No matter how outstanding Yi Fei is, I won't marry him." Zhuang Linger was embarrassed and anxious. She even subconsciously glanced at Yi Fei. Yi Fei kept a straight face and didn't say a word. At this time, he really couldn't say anything. Could he tell Zhuang Linger that he was Yi Fei? That would only make things more awkward for both sides. Ahem, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave and continue my training. Yi Fei coughed, trying to find an excuse to leave. To be honest, Yi Fei felt awkward when he suddenly found out that Zhuang Linger had come back to go on a blind date with him. Right now, he just wanted to leave alone and calm down. Hearing that Yi Fei was about to leave, Zhuang Ling subconsciously felt a trace of reluctance. Yi Fei's heroic figure in the battle with the treasure beast had already been deeply imprinted in her heart. If she could befriend such an expert, it would be very beneficial to the city lord's mansion. "Senior brother Zhou, you saved us, but we still haven't thanked you. If you don't mind, you can come to our city lord's mansion and have a seat. I'll be a good host." Zhuang Linger blushed slightly and looked at Yi Fei expectantly. Yi Fei hurriedly shook his head and rejected her tactfully. "I'm sorry. I still have something to do that I have to deal with alone. When I'm done, I'll visit the city lord's mansion if I have time." "I see. Then, senior brother Zhou, if you have time, you must come to the city lord's mansion to play with us," Zhuang Linger said with a little disappointment, but she didn't dare to force Yi Fei. After all, with Yi Fei's strength, even the city lord's mansion had to treat him with respect. After saying a few more words, Yi Fei kept the beast cores and nodded at Zhuang Linger and Zhuang Linger. Then, he quickly disappeared into the forest. Yi Fei didn't forget the most important reason he rushed back this time. That was to find Yi Tianxiong and his son and seek justice. As for the issue of relationships, it was better to put aside first. He shook his head hard and put the matter of Zhuang Linger aside. Soon, Yi Fei had left the Blackstone Mountains and entered Blackstone City. The city was still the same. There weren't many people, but it wasn't deserted either. When Yi Fei entered the city, it was already evening. There weren't many people in the city, and Yi Fei had been keeping a low profile. No one on the streets would have thought that Yi Fei would choose to return at this time. Of course, the family you wouldn't have thought of it either. The reason Yi Fei did this was to give Uncle Jian and the others a surprise. When he arrived at the family Ye's mansion, Yi Fei noticed something strange. As the first elder of the family, Yi Tianai was standing alone outside the family Ye's door. He looked like he wanted to go in, but didn't dare to. He just kept pacing back and forth. "First elder, it's so late. What are you doing outside alone? Waiting for someone?" Yi Fei walked over and patted Yi Tianai. This pat almost scared Yi Tianai out of his wits. He didn't even notice that someone was approaching until Yi Fei patted him. "Hey, you're Yi Fei?" Yi Tianai widened his eyes uncertainly and looked Yi Fei up and down. "First elder, if I'm not Yi Fei, who else could I be?" Yi Fei couldn't help but laugh. He understood why Yi Tianai asked this. During his time in Tianyan Wufu, Yi Fei's temperament and appearance had changed drastically. In short, he had become more mature. This was why Yi Tianai didn't recognize him first. When Yi Fei opened his mouth and heard that familiar voice, Yi Tianai looked at Yi Fei in surprise and said, "Yi Fei, you're really Yi Fei. That's great, you're finally back. Unfortunately, you're still one step too late." "First Elder, what do you mean? I remember that the family Ye's martial art competition is still 2 days away. I should have made it in time." Yi Fei was a little puzzled. The reason why he would rather cross the mountains and rush back at this time was because of the family Ye's martial arts competition. He wanted to avenge his father by killing Yi Tianxiong and his son at the martial arts competition. "Hey, Yi Fei, you don't know. That bastard Yi Tianxiong is really sinister and cunning. He knew that you joined Tianyan Wufu. Once he came back with some success, he and his son would be finished. So, while you weren't here, Yi Tianxiong called Yi Wei back in advance and used his power as the head of the family to hold the martial arts competition 10 days earlier." Yi Fei was shocked by First Elder's words. Holding the martial arts competition in advance. Yi Tianxiong had the guts to do so, and Grand Elder didn't object. Also, what about Zhou Guang? He should be a guest at the family Yi now. Didn't he help you? Yi Fei, of course, knew that with Yi Tianxiong's personality, he wouldn't be willing to wait for him to kill him. Yi Wei would also take advantage of his absence to play some tricks in the family Yi. That was why Yi Fei spared Zhou Guang's life and sent Zhou Guang back to the family Yi in advance. The purpose was to intimidate Yi Tianxiong and his son and prevent them from playing any tricks in the dark. But now, it seemed that Zhou Guang couldn't stop them. The First Elder sighed and continued, "Yi Fei, don't blame Zhou Guang. Guest Elder Zhou and Grand Elder have already done their best, but man proposes, God disposes. Who knew that Yi Wei would be so lucky when he entered the Tianxian sect and become the disciple of a powerful elder in the Tianxian sect? That elder is extremely protective. When he heard that you joined Tianyan Wufu and threatened to kill Yi Tianxiong and his son, Yi Wei immediately begged that elder to lend a hand. That elder now lives in our family Yi. It was also him who defeated Grand Elder and Guest Elder Zhou's joint attack in one move and forced the rest of the family Yi to agree to let Yi Wei be the current head of the family Yi." Chapter 54. Danger to the family Yi? "Yes, young master, please follow me." Yi Tianai, the Grand Elder, was now in his proper position. He had betrayed Yi Tianxiong once. As long as Yi Tianxiong and his son controlled the family Yi, he would not have an easy time. The only person who could stop all this was Yi Fei. The Grand Elder quickly brought Yi Fei to a remote courtyard in the city. This was originally Yi Tianya's secret residence. It was a private residence. Ever since Yi Wei stole the family Yi and chased Yi Tianai and the others out of the family Yi, Yi Tianai and the others had moved here to wait for Yi Fei's return. Walking into the courtyard, Yi Fei felt a pang of sadness when he saw the small room crammed with dozens of old, weak women and children. Since when had the powerful and prosperous Yi clan fallen to such a state? This caused Yi Fei's heart to be filled with anger towards Yi Wei. "Yi Wei, it wasn't enough that you destroyed my energy center and let others bully me. How could you be so cruel to ordinary family members?" Yi Fei sighed as he looked at the dilapidated courtyard. Seeing that Yi Fei had finally returned, the family Yi members in the courtyard were pleasantly surprised. "It's the young master. The young master is back." Obviously, these people could only rely on Yi Fei now. Seeing that Yi Fei had returned, they were all happy from the bottom of their hearts. Yi Jian, Zhou Guang, and Yi Chao rushed out of the crowd when they heard the news. Seeing that not only was Yi Fei safe and sound, but his spirit had also undergone a drastic change, Grand Elder Yi Chao sighed. "This kid has finally grown up. Yi Fei, why did you come back? Didn't the Great Elder tell you about the family Ye's current situation? Also, the news of you entering Tianyan Wufu and being demoted to a servant disciple has already spread. If Yi Wei and the elders of the Tianxian sect find out about this, they will definitely not let you off. Yi Jian's face was full of worry. Although the Tianxian sect was afraid of the power of Wu province, if Yi Fei was only a servant of Wu province, the elders of the Tianxian sect would not have any scruples. Uncle Jian, I just came back and you want me to run for my life? Yi Fei was speechless for a while. He also understood Yi Jian's worries. Uncle Jian, don't worry. My family, you won't be bullied by anyone. Not to mention the elders of the Tianxian sect. Even if their sect master came, he wouldn't be able to stop me from getting justice. Yi Fei's eyes were firm, and he was full of strong confidence. With the soul-devouring sword and the seed of sword intent, he could even kill a 5th-stage martial master realm ghost guard, let alone a mere sect elder. Then, Yi Fei completely released his true Yuan after breaking through to the martial master realm. The terrifying true Yuan formed a hurricane that immediately forced everyone back more than 10 steps. Yi Jian and Yi Chao were shocked. Yi Fei, you broke through to the martial master realm. My God, as expected of the young master. How long has it been, and the young master is already an expert in the martial master realm? Our family Yi is so lucky. The young master's talent is so terrifying. Our family you will not have to worry about not being able to rise. The surrounding family Yi members and a few neutral sect elders who had heard the news were all shocked. If they remember correctly, Yi Fei was only a 5th-stage martial path realm when he left. In just 3 months, he was already an expert in the martial master realm. They had never seen or even heard of such a terrifying cultivation speed. What was a genius? This was a true genius. Yi Tianai and a few other sect elders were already dancing with joy. Zhou Guang's tense face finally relaxed, and a smile appeared on his face. He walked up and congratulated. Congratulations, master. According to the rules of Wu province, no matter if it's an outer yard disciple or a servant disciple, as long as they break through to the martial master realm, they will automatically be promoted to inner yard disciple. No matter how arrogant the Tianxian sect is, they will definitely not dare to openly attack an inner yard disciple. Senior brother Zhou, thank you for your hard work during this period. Yi Fei also looked at Zhou Guang with sincerity. It's not hard at all. I have harmed Master, but Master forgave me and spared my life. I'm already very grateful. It's a pity that my strength is too weak and I couldn't stop the Tianxian sect from invading the family Yi. Cough, cough. Zhou Guang suddenly coughed violently as he spoke. Yi Fei realized that Yi Tianxiong was still not telling him the truth. Zhou Guang and Yi Chao were not simply defeated by the Tianxian sect elders in one move. They were also seriously injured. When Yi Fei killed the 2 ghost royal guards, he also found 2 bottles of high-grade healing pills on them. He quickly took them out and handed them to Zhou Guang and Yi Chao. Senior brother Zhou, Grand Elder, these are 2 bottles of high-grade healing pills. Take them, and they should be able to heal your injuries. What? High-grade healing pills. As expected of the Milord. I've been in the inner campus for dozens of years, but the Milord was able to get his hands on 2 bottles so easily. Zhou Guang was once again shaken. Yi Chao's hands trembled as he took the bottle of pills. High-grade pills. I can't believe that I, Yi Chao, have lived for more than 100 years. Just as I'm about to die of old age, I'm finally lucky enough to see such pills. Yi Chao, the Grand Elder, was extremely excited. Yi Tianai and the other neutral elders were so envious that their eyes started to turn red. In a place like Black Rock City, low-grade pills were rare and sought-after goods, not to mention high-grade pills. Yi Fei only had 2 bottles of such pills on him. It was impossible for him to give them to everyone. However, even if he didn't have the pills, he still had other good things. Grand Elder, don't be envious. I won't mistreat anyone who sincerely cares about the family Yi. This is a low-grade, profound, level martial art, Frost Fist. It also contains my insights. As long as you practice according to it, no matter how talented you are, as long as you are willing to work hard, you will be able to master it. Plop. Before Yi Fei could finish his words, Yi Tianai and the other neutral elders were so frightened that they knelt down before Yi Fei. Young Master, we swear that we will follow Young Master for the rest of our lives. If we have second thoughts, may the heavens and earth destroy us. Young master, we will do the same. Heavens, a profound level martial art. Our family, Yi finally has a profound level martial art that can be practiced. If this martial art is mastered, it will be easy for us to sweep through Blackrock City. The surrounding clansmen were also very excited. In the past, although the family Yi had the 13 sword styles, it was a high-grade, profound level martial art. It was extremely difficult to practice. Other than Yi Fei, no one else in the family Yi could master it. Now it was different. This Frost Fist was comprehended by Yi Fei. There was also a detailed cultivation experience. No matter how talented these people were, as long as they were willing to work hard, they would definitely be able to master it. How could they not be excited? Even Yi Jian was shocked. He patted Yi Fei's shoulder and said, "Good boy, you're good. You came back this time and gave Uncle Jian a big surprise." Hee, Uncle Jian, the surprise is still to come. Don't be so scared that your legs go soft. Yi Fei chuckled and took out another item. Of course, Yi Jian knew that Yi Fei was joking with him. He pretended to be angry and scolded. "Stinking brat. Are you courting death? Uncle Jian has seen all kinds of things. How can I be scared to the point that my legs go soft?" Is that so? That's a treasure beast core that can unconditionally allow a cultivator to break through to the martial master realm. Uncle Jian, do you really not feel your legs go soft when you hold it in your hand? Yi Fei looked at Yi Jian with a smile. Boom. Chapter 55. City Martial Arts Competition. No, this beast core is too precious. Uncle Jian, I can't accept it. Yi Fei, you should keep it to increase your strength. When he heard that Yi Fei had given him such a treasure, Yi Jian was really shocked. His first reaction was to give this thing to Yi Fei to increase his strength. Uncle Jian, this is my gift to you. You can't refuse it. Besides, I'm already a martial master. This thing is useless to me. Other than you, who else can I give it to? Yi Fei said with a smile. This? All right then, I won't stand on ceremony. Hearing Yi Fei's words, Yi Jian was too embarrassed to refuse. He excitedly grabbed the beast core in his hand and rushed into his room to refine it. Clearly, Yi Jian was also a meticulous person. He understood that if he kept such a treasure on him, it would be a disaster. It was better to absorb it immediately and use it for himself. Even Grand Elder Yi Chao couldn't help but sigh when he saw that Yi Fei was willing to give away the beast core of a precious beast without any hesitation. Then, he felt a strong sense of excitement. 3 martial masters had appeared consecutively in the family Yi. This was unimaginable in the past. This was clearly a sign of the rise of the family Yi. Yi Fei, from now on, all of us old folks will follow your lead. Please give us your orders. No matter what you do, we will support you to the end. Yi Chao sighed as he looked at Yi Fei. Yi Tianai and the other elders were all in unison. We await your orders, Patriarch. In their hearts, they had already decided that Yi Fei was the true head of the family. When Yi Fei heard this, his expression remained calm. He did not become excited just because he had become the head of the family. In fact, with his current strength, Yi Fei was no longer interested in being the head of the family. But whether he was the head of the family or not was one thing. If he had to take revenge, Yi Fei would definitely take it. First Elder, since Yi Wei was able to invite the elders of the heavenly profound sect over, it shouldn't be unconditional. What do they promise? Also, don't call me Clan Lord. Just call me by my name, Yi Fei said with a serious expression. Normally, Wu Province and the sects wouldn't interfere with the family affairs of their disciples, unless there was something that was worth their attention. Young Lord is wise. According to the informant I arranged in the family Yi, the Tianxin sect recently joined forces with a few other sects and intends to form a joint Wu province. Therefore, they need a large amount of labor to help them build the city that Wu province needs. That elder came to Blackrock City in hopes that our family Yi and the other family heads of Blackrock City will contribute money and effort. It would be best if our entire clan moved over and worked for them for free. Yi Ti and I understood that Yi Fei still held a grudge against the family Yi and was unwilling to accept the position of family head. He had no choice but to change his words and explain the information he received in detail. Yi Tianxiong and his son took advantage of this and were willing to let the entire family Yi work for the Tianxian sect. That was why they received the full support of that elder. All right, under the instructions of the Tianxian sect elder, Yi Wei will also invite all the families in Blackrock City to participate in a citywide martial arts competition tomorrow. It seems that he intends to use force to force the other families to submit to the Tianxian sect. A citywide martial arts competition? It seems that the Tianxian sect is very ambitious. I don't care about the other families, but you shouldn't have had any ideas about our family Yi. I will never let you have your way. First Elder, prepare yourselves. We will also participate in the citywide martial arts competition tomorrow. Yi Fei's face was filled with anger. He didn't expect Yi Tianxiong and his son to be so ruthless. For their own power, they were willing to push the entire family Yi into the fire pit. He once swore that he would take back everything that belonged to him and his son, including the family Yi. Yi Fei absolutely couldn't tolerate Yi Tianxiong and his son's actions of selling their families for power. Yi Tianxiong, Yi Wei, just you wait. Tomorrow, I will settle all our grudges. Yi Fei looked in the direction of the family Yi, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. Father, I have already discussed this with the Tianxian sect elder. He ordered me to go all out in tomorrow's martial arts competition. I must make these families in Blackrock City feel pain and fear. Then, I will make them obediently submit to us and take all their family members away from here to work for the Tianxian sect as free labor. In the family, Yi Wei was wearing the black robes of the Tianxian sect's inner disciples. His face was also cold as he discussed with Yi Tianxiong about tomorrow's citywide martial arts competition. This martial arts competition wasn't just Yi Wei becoming the head of the family Yi. It was also a way for the Tianxian sect to establish their power. Yi Wei didn't dare to be careless. Seeing that his eldest son was so promising, Yi Tianxiong was very happy. He hurriedly urged, Wei we will do whatever the Tianxian sect elder says. As long as we can live a good life, it doesn't matter if the others live or die. It's too bad that little bastard Yi Fei didn't come back. Otherwise, this old man would kill him with my own hands to avenge your brother. Hearing this, a hint of jealousy flashed across Yi Wei's cold face. Then it turned into extreme disdain, that trash. So what if he has a 10th grade Huang ranked Dantian? I heard that he offended some big shot as soon as he entered Wu province. His meridians were destroyed, and he was even demoted to a servant. This kind of trash, if I could cripple him once 3 years ago, I can do it again now. Good, as expected of my son. Wei, you must do your best in tomorrow's martial arts competition. If that little bastard dares to come back, you don't have to worry. He's just a servant from Wu province. Even if we kill him, the Wu province may not hold us accountable. Yi Tianxiong revealed an excited and cruel smile. He didn't forget the scene 3 months ago when Yi Fei killed Yi Long in front of him. That was the eternal pain in Yi Tianxiong's heart. It was Yi Fei who killed his most talented son with his own hands and destroyed his dream of becoming the mayor of Blackrock City. Every time he thought of this, Yi Tianxiong couldn't help but reveal a murderous aura. Little bastard, I'm afraid you would never have imagined that 3 years ago, your father wasn't killed by a demon beast. Instead, I stabbed him to death with my own sword while you were unconscious. Ha 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 ha! In the night sky, Yi Tianxiong's cold and evil laughter resounded. It seemed that being able to kill his own brother and take over the position of family head gave him a sense of accomplishment. That night, many of the clans in Blackrock City couldn't sleep at all. The next day, these families brought their best disciples to the mayor's mansion early in the morning because today was the day that the new family Yi family head, Yi Wei, called for a martial arts competition in the city. On the surface, it was a martial arts competition, but almost everyone in Blackrock City knew that Yi Wei was just a pawn used by the Tianxian sect to establish their power. The goal was to make them submit to the Tianxian sect and bring their family members to work for the Tianxian sect for free. This was something that no family could tolerate. After all, these families had been in Black Rock City for many generations and were deeply rooted. Once they left Black Rock City and entered an unfamiliar environment, small families like them might even be reduced to servants, let alone maintain their status. Fortunately, the Tianxian sect didn't go too far. Yue also promised these families that as long as they could get into the top 3 in the martial arts competition, they would be exempted from such labor. Therefore, before the sun rose, all the warrior families in Black Rock City brought their best disciples and gathered in the martial arts practice field of the mayor's mansion. Chapter 56. Chapter 56. Arrogant and conceited with the arrival of the elites from the various families of Black Rock City. The city lord of Black Rock City could not remain indifferent and immediately brought a large group of guards to the martial arts practice field. Is everyone here? This city lord won't say anything unnecessary. If you want to compete, then let's do it quickly. Humph. As the city lord, Zhuang Bufan only said a few words before returning to his seat with an ugly expression. The faces of many of the patriarchs below didn't look any better. Who didn't know that this martial arts competition was a show of strength for the heavenly profound sect? The purpose was to force these families to send a large number of their clansmen to work for the heavenly profound sect for free. Not only did this threaten the interests of the major clans, but also threatened the interests of the city lord's office. The only ones who benefited from this were Yi Tianxiong and his son. Not only did they sell their clan for glory, but they also planned to sell the entire Black Rock City under the instructions of the heavenly Xian sect's elder in exchange for the glory and wealth of the father and son. Seeing that the city lord of the Black Rock City had no intention of hosting the competition, Yi Tianxiong did not hold back. As if he was the city lord, he ordered his son, Wei, since you're the new lord of the family Yi, you will host this competition. Yi Wei couldn't wait for such an opportunity to show his face. He immediately walked up to the high platform with a proud expression and said in a deep voice, "The rules of this tournament are very simple. Each of your clans can send a disciple to challenge me. If he can last 10 rounds against me, he will be ranked first. 9 rounds, second, 8th, and 3rd. If you're a trash family that can't even last 8 rounds, then don't come up and embarrass yourselves. Get out of here, pack up your things, and report to the heavenly profound sect to work as laborers. If anyone dares to flee, their entire clan will be wiped out." Yi Wei's words were filled with killing intent. After saying this, he crossed his arms and stood on the high platform, resting with his eyes closed. He had the demeanor of an expert waiting for someone to challenge him. However, in Yi Fei's eyes, Yi Wei's actions were simply the style of a lackey of the heavenly profound sect. He couldn't help but shake his head inwardly. As the head of the family, he didn't care about the lives of others. It was no wonder that even the fence-sitter first elder was resolutely on his side. The various large families that had come to participate in the martial meeting were in an uproar. Those who were strong could barely endure it, but those who were weak all had ashen faces. Even if it was a weak family, they would not be able to withstand such public humiliation from Yi Wei. City Lord Zhuang Bufan's face turned even more ashen. This Yi Wei is too arrogant. Even if you're a disciple of the heavenly profound sect, you can't be so arrogant. Zhuang Ling was standing not too far away. When she heard these words, she was so angry that her face turned red. Yi Wei's words not only insulted many of the families present, but also disregarded the city lord's mansion. Sai, what can we do? The heavenly profound sect is too powerful. Recently, I even heard that the heavenly profound sect seems to be joining forces with other sects to form the Wu province. In this small Black Rock City, who would dare to fight with Yi Wei? That so-called strongest genius of Black Rock City, Yi Fei, was also so scared that he didn't dare to come. Little Fatty stood to the side and comforted Zhuang Ling. Hearing this, Zhuang Ling couldn't help but frown. She shook her head and said, "It's fine if that Yi Fei doesn't come. It'll be better if he doesn't come. Let's see if this Yi Wei dares to be arrogant in front of Senior Zhou." Thinking of Yi Fei's fierce battle scene, Zhuang Ling Er's face turned red. She subconsciously looked at the crowd, hoping to see that familiar figure. Unfortunately, she didn't see him. That's right. With Senior Zhou's strength, how could he be interested in this small martial arts competition? I wonder if I'll ever see him again. Zhuang Ling, looked away with regret. She didn't know that Yi Fei had already noticed her. However, Yi Fei had been standing in the most remote corner of the crowd. He was wearing a bamboo hat to hide his face, so no one noticed him. Yi Wei, don't be so arrogant. Don't think that you can be arrogant just because you joined the Heavenly Profound sect. My Gale Martial Arts School, Li Feng, will fight with you. Hearing Yi Wei's arrogant challenge, the powerful Li family in Black Rock City was the first to send out their most outstanding genius, Li Feng, who joined the Gale Martial Arts School. Li Feng was really powerful. As soon as he jumped onto the stage, he revealed his cultivation of the 8th stage of the martial path. Many of the older generation were shocked. Brother Feng, good job. Brother Feng, good luck. Because he joined the Gale Martial Arts School, Li Feng was very famous in Black Rock City. He was also known as the next successor of the Li family. Many young men and women were desperately cheering for Li Feng. Trash of the 8th stage of the martial path. Your Gale Martial Arts School isn't even a sect. What qualifications do you have to say that I'm arrogant? Trash like you can be considered human? Yi Wei looked at Li Feng with disdain. His words were full of malice. Li Feng, who was also a genius, was furious. He pulled out the machete on his back and aimed it at Yi Wei. How dare you insult our Gale Martial Arts School? You have to apologize to me. Yi Wei glared at Li Feng. He didn't even look at Li Feng's machete technique. He directly chopped off Li Feng's arm that was holding the machete. He said coldly, "Trash, what qualifications do you have for me to apologize to you? Get off the stage." Li Feng let out a blood-curdling scream as he clutched his broken arm. He was kicked off the stage by Yi Wei, causing blood to spurt out of his mouth. Only his broken arm was left on the stage, looking extremely bloody. Feng, the head of the Li family, looked at his son's arm being chopped off. He was so angry that his whole body was filled with killing intent. He stared at Yi Wei and said, "Yi Wei, it's just a martial arts competition. How can you be so ruthless?" "Brother Li, what are you talking about? Since it's a martial arts competition, you should go all out. Whether you die or become disabled, it's up to fate. If you can't afford to play, then don't participate. No one is forcing you to participate." Yi Tianxiong stood next to an old man and said darkly. The old man had been resting with his eyes closed since the beginning. It was as if all the people and things on the stage had nothing to do with him, until he felt the killing intent of the head of the Li family. The old man looked at him with displeasure. Just this look was enough to make the head of the Li family break out in cold sweat. He was full of resentment, but in front of this heavenly Xian sect elder, he couldn't do anything. He could only accept his bad luck and lead a group of elders to quickly pick up Li Feng's severed arm to see if it could be reattached. However, because of this incident, the remaining families didn't dare to send their elite disciples to participate in the martial arts competition. When Yi Wei saw this, he became even more arrogant. He pointed at the noses of the family heads and scolded, "A bunch of good-for-nothings. Don't tell me that you can't even find someone who can take 10 moves from me? Since you don't want to come up, then I won't be polite. I'll call out your names. Chen Lu, I heard that you're the most talented genius of the Chen family. Come up and let's have a competition." Yi Wei was so arrogant that he didn't care about the ugly looks on the faces of the other families and started calling out names. Yi Fei could clearly see that Chen Lu, who had been called up to the stage, was pale as a sheet of paper before he even walked up. However, this person was quick-witted. As soon as he walked up, he immediately surrendered and said, "Senior brother Yi, don't do it. I saw rendezvous." Unfortunately, before Chen Lu could finish his sentence, a blade light had already sliced his neck. The head of the Chen family widened his eyes and said, "Why? We have already surrendered. Yi Wei, why are you still so ruthless?" Chapter 57. Make a strong move, trash. You don't have the right to surrender. When the patriarchs of Black Rock City heard this, their hearts were filled with complicated feelings. Only now did they realize that the heavenly profound sect had lied to them when they said that the top 3 of the martial meeting would be exempt from labor. The purpose of this martial arts meet was only one, and that was to establish their might. He wanted these families to obediently run over to the heavenly profound sect and work for the heavenly profound sect for free. If they didn't obey, the geniuses of their families would be killed or crippled one by Yi Wei. Many family heads were enraged. The mayor of Black Rock City was also furious. The great elder and Yi Jian, who were hidden in the crowd, were also furious. However, no matter how angry they were, it was useless. The elder of the heavenly Xian sect was sitting there. These small families that did not even have a martial master, how could they go against the heavenly Xian sect and Yi Wei? Black Rock City is finished. The Blackstone City Lord helplessly closed his eyes. His heart was extremely complicated. As the city lord of a small city, he was powerless to resist the oppression of the heavenly profound sect. He could only watch as the heavenly profound sect captured the citizens of Blackstone City to do manual labor. If he tried to stop them, it was likely that even he, the city lord, would not be able to keep his life. The Blackstone City Lord could only forcefully suppress the anger in his heart and pretend that this matter did not concern him. It's over, we're all finished. The faces of the various family heads turned ashen. With the strength that Yi Wei had displayed, the disciples of their families would all die if they went up against him. Even without the heavenly profound sect doing anything, their small families would collapse. In order to avoid this fate, there was only one choice left for them. Elder Tian Xian, we, the Zhou family, will not be participating in the martial arts competition. We have thought it through. We are willing to do our part for the Tian Xian sect. Tomorrow, we will lead all of our family members to participate in the construction of Wu Province. The Zhou family head said. Yes, there's also our Li family. Our Chen family is also willing. And us, we are also willing to do our best. The patriarchs of the various families fought to be first. They could not resist the heavenly profound sect's coercion, so all that was left was to helplessly obey. A bunch of trash. You don't even have the courage to withstand 10 of my moves? Yi Wei was very unhappy. He felt that he hadn't killed enough. Elder Tian Xian was very satisfied. This was the effect he wanted. He immediately opened his eyes and said to the family heads with a smile, "Everyone, if you are willing to go to the Tian Xian sect, we welcome you with open arms. However, you must be willing to go. Don't worry, Elder Tian Xian. We're all willing to be able to volunteer to help the heavenly profound sect. Our entire clan is very happy. That's right. We swear loyalty to the heavenly profound sect. Once we return, we will pack our things and leave Black Rock City." The group of family heads said flattering words against their will. They were afraid that if they were too slow, Yi Wei would target their genius disciples again. Elder Tian Xian was also very satisfied. As long as he personally heard this group of people admit that they were willing, even if the Blackstone City Lord reported this to the Imperial City, their Tian Xian sect would not be afraid. Disciple, since these family heads are willing to contribute to the heavenly profound sect, let's end this martial arts competition here. Elder Tian Xian instructed indifferently. Yi Wei's attitude immediately changed. He respectfully knelt on the ground, raised his butt, and said loudly, "Yes, master. I will do whatever you say." "Ha! You and I are master and disciple. There's no need for this. Just do whatever you want." Elder Tian Xian was very satisfied with Yi Wei's filial piety. Yi Wei was also happily about to get up from the ground. Suddenly, a sarcastic voice came from behind the crowd. "Since you've knelt, then keep kneeling. As a family head, you can kneel to others casually. Yi Wei, wouldn't it be better for you to become a dog?" Boom! Once these words came out, the faces of the various family heads changed. Who was so bold to openly ignore the elder of the Tian Xian sect and insult the family head of the family Yi? They all dodged to the side and looked behind them. Yi Fei also took off the bamboo hat on his head and walked out from the corner. "It's him. It's senior brother Zhou." Zhuang Ling couldn't believe her eyes. She didn't expect the mysterious and powerful senior brother Zhou to be watching from the crowd. "Father, this is the one I mentioned to you before. He's Tianyan Wufu's inner yard senior brother Zhou. He's extremely powerful and saved my cousin and me." Zhuangling suppressed her surprise and hurriedly introduced him to the mayor of Blackrock City. "Ling, are you sure you didn't recognize the wrong person? He told you that his surname is Zhou." The mayor of Blackrock City had a strange expression on his face. Zhuangling didn't understand, but her confusion quickly turned into deep shock. "Yifei, it's Yifei. He's back. That's strange. Didn't they say that Yifei was demoted to a servant when he entered Wu province? He still dares to come back. Bullsh asterisk T. Look at Brother Fei's imposing manner. How can a servant compare to him? Ha, we're in for a good show." Seeing that it was Yifei who appeared, all the big families were energized. They understood the grudge between Yifei and Yi Tianxiang. Most importantly, Tianyan Wufu was behind Yifei. When they saw Yifei appear, all the people present simultaneously moved to the side and made way for Yifei. Yifei also smoothly walked to the front and directly walked up to the high platform. He greeted Yue. "Yue, long time no see. When you destroyed my energy center 3 years ago, I bet you didn't expect this day to come." When he heard Yifei mention what happened 3 years ago, Yue's face revealed an unnatural expression. He subconsciously looked at Elder Tian Xian. He wasn't afraid of Yifei, but he was very afraid of Tianyan Wufu, who was behind Yifei. "He's just an odd job worker of the martial house. This is your family's matter, so you can deal with it yourself. Of course, Master will support any decision you make." Elder Tian Xian had a carefree look on his face. In fact, he was blatantly biased. With Elder Tian Xian's support, Yue immediately gained confidence. He looked at Yifei with disdain and said, "You piece of trash. I was merciful when I only destroyed your energy center 3 years ago. In the end, not only did you not repent, you even dared to kill my brother. Today, I will kill you in front of everyone to avenge my brother. Wei we father and son have nothing to say to this little bastard. Kill him now." Yi Tianxiang saw Yifei appear, and his eyes began to turn red. It couldn't be helped. The scene of Yifei killing Yilong in front of Yi Tianxiang was too much of a shock for Yi Tianxiang. He had been suffering for 3 months because of this. Now that he saw Yifei appear, Yi Tianxiang couldn't wait to tear Yifei into pieces. "Wait!" Yifei suddenly stopped him. "You piece of trash, are you scared?" Yue looked at Yifei proudly and fiercely. Yifei laughed involuntarily and shook his head calmly. He pointed at Yue and said, "I'm just afraid that you'll die too quickly and won't be able to find out the truth from 3 years ago. Yue, if you don't want to die too painfully, tell me honestly how my father died 3 years ago. Was he killed by a demon beast or by you and your father?" Chapter 58. Instakill, what a terrifying killing intent. What exactly did this Yifei experience in Tianyan Wufu for him to accumulate such a strong murderous aura? Around the high platform, the various patriarchs weren't the only ones who were shocked when they felt Yifei's almost tangible killing intent. Even the elders of the heavenly profound sect were shocked. Just how many people did he kill to be able to condense such a terrifying killing intent? Of course, this elder of the heavenly Xian sect would never have imagined that only a small part of Yifei's murderous aura came from him. Most of it came from the spirit-devouring sword. This demonic sword had once slain 100,000 soldiers. If its murderous aura was released, how terrifying would it be? At the very least, Yue, who was directly facing this killing intent, was completely frightened. This killing intent caused Yue's entire soul to tremble. Hearing Yifei's words, Yue subconsciously spoke the truth. Somewhat hysterically, he said, "Trash, you guessed right. Your father wasn't killed by a demonic beast. He fought with a demonic beast and only suffered heavy injuries. It was my father who personally pierced your father's head with his sword. Then I used my sword to pierce your dantian. I really should have killed you at that time. Too bad you didn't. Then you and your father will have to pay the price now. Everything you took from us, I will take it all back. Boom! Yi Fei's murderous aura intensified, and his eyes turned blood red. The members of the family Yi were shocked as well. They all looked at Yi Tianxiong in shock, including the elders and members of the family Yi. Yi Tianxiong, it was you who killed our master. Today, we will seek justice for our master. Yi Jian, Yi Chao, and Yi Tianai stepped out from the crowd and glared at Yi Tianxiong. Many members of the family Yi looked at Yi Tianxiong in disbelief. Yi Tianxiong, you killed the patriarch with your own hands. So what if I personally killed him? What can you do to me? Wake up. Kill that little bastard. I want to tear him into pieces. Yi Tianxiong lost his mind and roared. He did not think that Yi Wei would be frightened by the murderous aura and tell the truth. With this, the reputation of the family Yi would be completely ruined. They would even be spurned by the entire family Yi. The only solution was to kill Yi Fei as soon as possible. As long as Yi Fei was dead, the Heavenly Profound sect would definitely be able to suppress everyone present to keep their mouths shut. Trash! How dare you use evil magic to control me? Now I'm going to kill you to avenge my brother. Yi Wei was also furious. Yi Tianxiong's roar had finally shaken him out of his fear. But when he thought about how he had been scared by Yi Fei in front of everyone and told the truth, he couldn't accept it. Kill. Mysterious sky slash. A terrifying aura began to emanate from Yi Wei's body. It was the aura of a martial master. At the same time, he instantly brandished a dazzling saber light at Yi Fei. It was the light of a mysterious level saber technique. Level 1 martial master. Mysterious level medium level saber technique. These two were Yi Wei's strongest trump cards. At this moment, he had actually used both of them against Yi Fei. The various family clans present were shocked. Not good. This Yi Wei actually broke through the martial master realm and even mastered a mysterious level saber technique. This time Yi Fei is in danger. He has been a cripple for 3 years. In terms of realm, he is too far behind Yi Wei. Seeing that Yi Wei had made the first move and Yi Fei was still stunned on the spot, Yi Tianxiong's lips curled into a victorious smile. He laughed wildly and said, "Ha, Yi Fei, you idiot. So what if you were talented? As long as you don't grow up, you are a complete piece of trash in the eyes of us father and son." Trash? Yi Tianxiong, then open your dog eyes wide and see clearly who is the real trash. Yi Fei sneered. It wasn't that he didn't move, it was that he didn't even bother to move. When he was still in a martial Dao realm, he could rely on the mutated divine fire to kill a martial master. Now that he had become a martial master, his mutated divine fire had completely transformed into divine fire true essence. His combat strength had increased by more than 10 times. Sword 13 style. Yi Fei finally pulled out the sword in his hand. It wasn't the devouring spirit sword because he didn't deserve to die under the devouring spirit sword to kill Yi Wei. Kill. 13 dazzling sword shadows danced with a terrifyingly high temperature. In an instant, they condensed into a dazzling sword light that resembled a flame. Before the sword arrived, the sharp sword Qi had already cut open the void in front of the two. Everyone was shocked. Yi Fei was also a martial master. How is this possible? You piece of trash, you have only been in Tianyan Wufu for 3 months, and you have already caught up with my 3 years of hard work. Yi Wei couldn't understand and was instantly enraged. Why is it impossible? Yi Wei, I've said it before. You people won't understand the world of geniuses. Now die for me. Boom! The sword light shone brightly, and the dazzling sword light instantly engulfed the saber light in front of him. Then, it was Yi Wei's saber and Yi Wei's body. This sword even pierced through the void. The 13 times critical hit almost cut the entire high platform in half. Of course, Yi Wei's corpse was also cut in half. With just one sword, Yi Wei, who was in the first stage of the martial master realm, was killed on the spot without any resistance. This was Yi Fei's true combat strength. Yi Fei didn't even need to use his sword intent to kill an ordinary first-stage martial master expert. He only needed to rely on the divine fire true essence in his body and the Sword 13 style to easily kill them. Hua! Such a terrifying scene caused everyone on the high platform to widen their eyes in shock. Elder Tian Xian, who didn't put Yi Fei in his eyes, stood up in extreme shock. The Blackrock City's city lord also stood up. Zhuang Ling-er's small mouth was wide enough to stuff a banana in. Little Fatty was so frightened that he fell to the ground with a plop. Yi Fei genius, Yi Fei mighty, Yi Jian, Yi Chao, Yi Tianai, and the other elders were already shouting excitedly. Even they were shocked by Yi Fei's valiant strength. They could only vent their feelings by shouting loudly. Wei, my son! Suddenly, a shrill, ghost-like scream resounded through the entire martial arts practice field. It was the sound of Yi Tianxiong crying bitterly. Poor Yi Tianxiong. In just 3 months, he had actually seen 2 of his sons killed by Yi Fei. The heavy pain of losing his sons almost drove Yi Tianxiong crazy on the spot. Chapter 59. Sword startles the audience boom. Following Yi Tianxiong's wailing, the entire high platform suddenly shattered. That was the result of the profound sky elder stomping his foot in anger. How terrifying would it be when an elder was angry? Especially when this elder was from the heavenly profound sect. The martial arts arena, which was originally very noisy, instantly became silent after the profound sky elder stomped his feet. Even Yi Tianxiong suppressed his grief and stopped crying. Only Yi Fei didn't seem to feel the anger of this sect elder. He looked at him coldly and said, "Why? Are you unhappy that I killed your disciple? You dare to be dissatisfied?" The hearts of everyone who heard these words fiercely shook. How arrogant was this person to dare to say such words to a powerful sect elder? Crazy. This Yi Fei is really crazy. Did he think that just because he killed Yi Wei, he would be able to fight against the sect elders? All the major families were basically looking at Yi Fei as if he were a lunatic. How arrogant! Elder Tian Xian finally couldn't help but speak to Yi Fei. His words made many of the so-called geniuses of the various clans fall to the ground in fright. "I'm strong, so I'm arrogant." What, you're not convinced? Yi Fei opposed him. He didn't need to show any respect to this sect elder who wanted to turn his family Yi in Blackrock City into laborers. At the end of the day, he was still a member of the family Yi. Blackrock City was his hometown. Ha ha! How strong can you be? Do you think that just because you've become a martial master and killed one of my disciples, you can disregard our sex? Young man, don't be too arrogant. Don't forget, you're just a servant of the martial house. Elder Tian Xian was so angry that he laughed. He felt that Yi Fei was simply too arrogant. Did he think that he could talk to the sect elders like this just because he killed a martial master? Kid, I'll give you a chance. If you kneel down and cripple your own cultivation, I can spare your life. Elder Tian Xian said in a very magnanimous manner. Yi Fei had killed his disciple in front of everyone. This was a slap to the face of the sect elders. If he didn't do something, he would definitely be ridiculed. However, considering that Yi Fei was a member of Tianyan Wufu, Elder Tian Xian couldn't kill Yi Fei in public. Therefore, he came up with an even more vicious idea to destroy Yi Fei and make Yi Fei suffer a fate worse than death. Yi Fei. Yi Fei saw through the old bastard's sinister intentions at a glance. He sneered and scolded. "Old bastard, have you gone senile? Who do you think you are? How dare you ask me to cripple my own cultivation? Let me tell you, I'll leave my words here today. If I don't kill you within 3 moves, I, Yi Fei, will kill myself in front of everyone." Everyone was shocked. Yi Fei's words nearly scared many people to death. What did they just hear? Yi Fei actually wanted to kill a sect elder in 3 moves. If he couldn't kill him, he would commit suicide in public? Crazy. This kid is completely crazy. Does he think that the sect elders are like stray dogs on the side of the road that he can kill as he pleases? But Yi Fei is so strong and so handsome. I can't take it anymore. I'm starting to like this kind of domineering feeling. Yi Fei, you stinking brat. Hurry up and come back. Don't do anything stupid. Yi Jian and the family Yi clansmen were scared silly when they heard Yi Fei's crazy words. Yi Fei was only a first-stage martial master. Wasn't he courting death by challenging a fifth-stage martial master sect elder? Of course, if they knew that Yi Fei had a demonic sword on him, that he had once killed 100,000 soldiers, and that Yi Fei had grasped the seed of sword intent, they wouldn't have thought so. Old thing, tell me, do you dare to fight? Yi Fei looked at Elder Tian Xian contemptuously. Since he wanted to be strong, he would be strong all the way. He had suffered too much humiliation in the past 3 years. Now, he would wash away all of it. I'm strong, so I'm arrogant. You don't know your place. Kid, since you want to die, I'll grant you your wish. Elder Tian Xian was enraged. He had already shown mercy by sparing Yi Fei's life. He had only intended to cripple Yi Fei's cultivation. In the end, this young man didn't know how to be grateful. He even dared to provoke a sect elder. This was a slap in the face. Elder Tian Xian knew that if he didn't kill Yi Fei today and the news got back to the sect, he wouldn't be able to keep his position as an elder anymore. In his rage, Elder Tian Xian didn't say anything else. His fifth-stage martial master quintessential Yuan transformed into a raging hurricane. The people around him immediately turned pale and frantically retreated. Kill. 8 mysterious sky slashes. Elder Tian Xian's face was sinister. He attacked with the same mysterious sky slash as Yi Wei. However, there were a total of 8 of these blade lights. Each one was more terrifying than the last. They were like waves that pushed forward layer by layer towards Yi Fei. When Yi Chao and Zhou Guang saw this scene, their faces turned pale. They wouldn't be able to block these blade lights. If they even got close to them, their bodies would be smashed to pieces. Yi Fei smiled coldly and shook his head. Is this the strength of a sect elder? What piece of trash. You can't even compare to the 2 mysterious men I met. Kill. A resplendent sword light appeared from Yi Fei's body. Unlike before, this sword light was as black as ink. This was the sword light of the soul-devouring sword. Under the pressure of Elder Tian Xian, Yi Fei finally used the soul-devouring sword. The sword light flashed, and a terrifying killing intent swept across the entire training ground like a hurricane. It also caused everyone present to continuously retreat. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. What kind of sword was that? Just the sword light alone had such a terrifying might. What was even more shocking was that just relying on the soul-devouring sword wasn't enough to kill a 5th-stage martial master. Therefore, Yi Fei didn't hesitate to fuse the sword intent seed into the soul-devouring sword. With the sword intent, the soul-devouring sword's ferocity instantly increased by several levels. The terrifying murderous aura had almost materialized. At this moment, the pitch-black sword light had completely engulfed all the light in the martial arts practice field. Soul-devouring sword intent. Yi Fei bellowed. Holding the sword with both hands, he also slashed at Elder Tian Xian. The terrifying sword light illuminated the entire training ground. It also shattered Elder Tian Xian's sword light on the spot. What's going on? My sword is actually moving on its own. Heavens, mine too. Oh no, it's flying out on its own. When Yi Fei waved the soul-devouring sword and activated the sword intent seed, the warriors present instantly discovered something incomparably shocking. All the warriors present who had a sword unsheathed their swords automatically and flew in the direction of Yi Fei. They actually followed the direction of the soul-devouring sword's attack and slashed out. This is sword intent. How is this possible? This Yi Fei, at such a young age, he can actually comprehend sword intent. The Blackrock City Lord's eyes widened as he watched this unbelievable scene unfold before him. Father, what is sword intent? Zhuang Ling, O's face was filled with confusion. Although she had joined the sect, she hadn't reached the level where she could come into contact with sword intent. Before the Blackrock City Lord could say anything, the scene had already undergone a shocking change. Elder Tian Xian, who was directly facing Yi Fei's sword, was already shocked and terrified. He screamed like a woman. "Ah, this can't be true. Sword intent, how is this possible? How can you comprehend sword intent? Don't kill me. I am an elder of the heavenly Xian sect. If you kill me, you will be in great trouble." The moment Yi Fei's sword intent appeared, the previously insufferably arrogant Elder Tian Xian was so frightened that he actually took the initiative to beg Yi Fei for mercy. Shocking. The entire city was truly shocked. For a moment, everyone's gaze was on Yi Fei. They watched as Yi Fei rapidly brandished the spirit-devouring sword. What choice would this young man make? Would he really create the legend of a first-stage martial master slaying a fifth-stage martial master? Of course, if these Blackrock City martialists knew that this wasn't the first time Yi Fei had slain a fifth-stage martial master expert, but that he had done so with ease, who knew what they would think? At least for now, many of the so-called geniuses of Blackrock City had already discovered in a panic that they were so frightened that they had wet their pants. They couldn't be blamed for this. Yi Fei was simply too strong. Following a terrifying explosion of sword light, Yi Fei's sword finally stopped. Then a blood-curdling scream was heard as the elder Tian Xian spat out blood miserably. A huge sword wound had appeared on his chest, but it wasn't fatal. Yi Fei hadn't lost his mind. His current strength wasn't strong enough to go against an entire sect. Although killing the elder Tian Xian might have been satisfying for a moment, it might have provoked the heavenly Xian sect's crazy revenge. Yi Fei wasn't afraid, but he had to think about his family Yi and Yi Jian's close friends. Therefore, Yi Fei chose to seriously injure the elder Tian Xian instead of killing him. Even so, when they saw Yi Fei seriously injure a sect elder with a single sword strike, everyone in the martial arts practice field couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Chapter 60. Chapter 60. Evil has its retribution. The spirit-devouring sword did not disappoint Yi Fei. He did not have the strength to kill a fifth-level martial master, but using the spirit-devouring sword and the devouring sword intent seed had a different effect. As long as Yi Fei was willing, he could still kill a fifth-tier martial master. Yi Fei could not help but sneer at Elder Tian Xian's words. "You're lucky that I didn't kill you. How dare you ask about my sword intent?" In front of everyone, Yi Fei pointed at Elder Tian Xian's nose and said coldly, "You're not worthy." Boom! Yi Fei's words caused an uproar in the martial arts practice hall. Who was the Profound Sky Elder? He was an elder with real power in the Profound Sky sect, an expert of the fifth level of the martial master realm. Such an expert was someone that the entire Blackrock City could only look up to. But now, not only had Yi Fei severely wounded a Profound Sky Elder, but he even dared to say that the Profound Sky Elder wasn't worthy? How domineering. All of a sudden, the patriarchs, who had been looking at Elder Tian Xian with reverence, shifted their gazes to Yi Fei. Many people even secretly warned their disciples to never offend Yi Fei, no matter who they offended in the future. Elder Tian Xian smiled bitterly and looked down at the nearly fatal wound on his chest. He said in fear, "The power of your sword almost killed me. The sword spirit is as terrible as the rumors say. Young hero, I was rude before. I shouldn't have interfered in the feud of your family, Yi. I'll leave now and never interfere in these matters again." With that said, he turned and left. Elder Tian Xian was completely afraid of Yi Fei. In just one move, Yi Fei had severely injured him. If he were to receive 2 more moves from the youth in front of him, an elder like him might be reduced to ashes. In front of a genius who had comprehended sword essence, he, a mere sect elder, could not afford to offend him. Not only could he not afford to offend Elder Tian Xian, but he might not even be able to offend the entire Tian Xian sect. The elder of the heavenly profound sect actually admitted defeat. An expert at the 5th level of the martial master realm is actually not a match for Yi Fei. The family Yi is really going to rise up this time. To be able to comprehend sword will, that is not a genius, but a monster. The family Yi has such a monstrous expert. Within a few years, they will definitely be able to walk out of Blackstone City and enter the ranks of the Zhao clan. Aristocratic families, to all the families in Blackrock City, were unreachable. Now, the family might become an aristocratic family because of Yi Fei. How could everyone not be envious? Many people even cast mocking and disdainful looks at Yi Tianxiong, the Zhou clan leader side. Such a monster is practically the treasure of the clan. Yi Tianxiong, on the other hand, did not think of protecting him. He even oppressed him. No wonder he ended up like this. The head of the Li family looked at Li Feng's broken arm and spat at Yi Tianxiong with hatred. He deserved it. As a member of the clan, he actually dared to murder the clan leader. As the elder brother, he actually dared to murder his own younger brother. As the uncle, he actually tried to destroy his own nephew time and time again. This man is heartless and cold-blooded. Yi Tianxiong, you took advantage of your son's entry into the Heavenly Xian sect. In the past 3 years, you have turned our family Yi upside down. Now, you are selling out the clan for glory and want all of us to work for the Heavenly Xian sect. How should you be punished? That's right. If not for young Master Yi Fei's revelation, we would not have known your true colors. Yi Tianxiong, you heartless bastard. The entire family Yi despises you. After discovering Yi Fei's strength and seeing that even the Heavenly Xian elder had bowed his head to Yi Fei, the members of the family Yi hurried forward in fear. They took turns cursing and scolding Yi Tianxiong. Some even spat at him. Yi Tianxiong was in complete despair. As soon as he saw Yi Fei severely injure the Heavenly Xian elder, Yi Tianxiong knew that he was finished. Completely finished. If I had known this day would come, I would not have let you live 3 years ago. I should have killed you just like how I killed your father. I was too soft-hearted. Yi Tianxiong did not care about the curses of others. Under the pressure of Yi Fei's aura, he could not even stand up. Yi Tianxiong could only kneel in front of Yi Fei. He tried his best to raise his head and stare at Yi Fei with bloodshot eyes. He did not want to lose too badly. Haha, too soft-hearted. Yi Tianxiong, now that things have come to this, you still want to hide it? You did not kill me not because you were soft-hearted, but because you and your father thought that killing me would not be satisfying enough. You wanted to cripple me and watch me live a life worse than death. Only then would you be happy and satisfied. Yi Fei sneered. He had exposed Yi Tianxiong's last shred of shame. Yi Tianxiong's face instantly turned pale. He laughed bitterly and said, "Ha. In the end, I'm the one who helped you. You've already killed 2 of my sons. Your uncle, will never be able to catch up to you in my entire life. In front of you, I'm just a cripple. How about letting go of a cripple like me? You can destroy my Dantian, but I do not want to die." Yi Tianxiong was not reconciled. He was not reconciled. Ambitious people like him all had a weakness, and that was the fear of death. If he died, he would lose everything. As long as he did not die, perhaps there would be a chance to turn things around. Do you think I will give you a chance to turn things around, uncle? This is the last time I will call you uncle. I only have one question for you. 3 years ago, when my father was seriously injured, did you ever think of letting his father and son go? Yi Tianxiong opened his mouth and was about to shamelessly say something to fight for his life, but Yi Fei did not give him any chance to speak. A sword instantly pierced through Yi Tianxiong's mouth and through the back of his head. "Shut up. When you killed my father and your brothers, you should have thought of this day." Yi Fei pulled out the sword. Blood sprayed on his face. He was indescribably pleased, but Yi Fei's eyes were filled with tears. "Father, do you see this? I have finally avenged you. I, Yi Fei, am a man of my word. I will take back everything that was taken from us with my own hands." Yi Fei looked up at the sky. He tried his best not to let his tears fall. He did not want tears. He only believed in the sword in his hand. These words were like thunder that shook everyone's hearts. At this moment, not only did they see Yi Fei's strength, but they also saw Yi Fei's ruthlessness and true nature. "If anyone offends me, I will return the favor tenfold." These were not empty words spoken by a hot-blooded youth. If Yi Fei said it, then he would definitely do it. Yi Fei was soft on the outside, but his heart was unyielding. Sigh. Elder Tian Xian sighed. Seeing Yi Tianxiong's end with his own eyes, Elder Tian Xian felt extremely conflicted. He also saw Yi Fei's strength, and he also saw Yi Fei's strength. I can't afford to offend this youth. Not only me, but the entire Tian Xian sect should avoid offending him if possible. Elder Tian Xian made a final judgment in his heart. Without hesitation, he wanted to leave while no one was paying attention. Yi Fei immediately called out to him, "Stop. Did I say you could leave? You have already killed my disciple and severely injured me. I have also made it clear that I will no longer interfere in this matter. Young man, don't go overboard." Elder Tian Xian turned around. His face was filled with anger, but his words were clearly a sign of weakness. Chapter 61. Chapter 61. Family Yi dominates. Then what do you want me to do? Elder Tian Xian was furious. As an elder with real power in the sect, when had he ever bowed his head to a youth like this? In the end, Yi Fei still refused to let him go. How preposterous! What do I want? I should be asking you what you want. You used your status as an elder of the heavenly Xian sect to come to my family, Yi, and act like a tyrant. You even instructed Yi Wei to kill and injure my fellow villagers. Don't you think that you should give us an explanation? Yi Fei said coldly. Then how do you want me to explain myself? Elder Tian Xian was furious. He was about to lose control of his killing intent. Yi Fei didn't say anything. He just sneered and raised the spirit-devouring sword in his hand again. Just this action alone scared Elder Tian Xian, who was full of anger, into cold sweat. Elder Tian Xian finally realized that he was not facing an ordinary handyman disciple from Wu Province, but a genius who had comprehended the sword essence. In front of such a monster, a sect elder was nothing. Even if the entire Tian Xian sect dared to harm a single strand of hair on Yi Fei's head, it was likely that a large group of experts from Wu Province would come and raze the Tian Xian sect to the ground. In the end, this was a world where strength reigned supreme. Yi Fei had displayed an irresistible strength. Even the sect elders could only lower their heads. Elder Tian Xian quickly withdrew his murderous aura and forced himself to smile at Yi Fei. Young hero, I was wrong before. This old man apologizes to the family Yi and all the families in Blackrock City. Later, the Heavenly Profound sect will definitely compensate everyone. Boom. When the mysterious sky elder said this, even the Blackstone City Lord was shocked. Not only had Yi Fei made the mysterious sky elder lower his head, but he had also made the entire mysterious sky sect lower its head. What kind of terrifying talent was this? This was a treatment that only monstrous geniuses who had comprehended sword intent could possess. Yi Fei, Yi Fei, Brother Fei, we love you. At this moment, it wasn't just the family Yi clansmen who were cheering. All the other family Yi clansmen present were cheering as well. If one were to say that Yi Fei had been the pride of the family Yi before, then this family Yi was the pride of the family Yi. When Yi Fei stood up and demanded justice from the Heavenly Profound sect for all the families in the city, Yi Fei had already become the pride of the entire city. All the youths in Blackrock City looked at Yi Fei with adoration. All the young girls in Blackrock City were bashful and happy. Their eyes sparkled as they stared at this handsome and domineering genius. Zhuang Linger suddenly felt a burst of anger. She felt that those girls were too indecent. How could they casually shout out such words? She hurriedly looked at Yi Fei. Seeing that Yi Fei was unmoved by the flirtatious glances of these young girls, Zhuang Linger's face finally revealed a smile, along with a trace of bashful joy that she did not notice. Only Zhuang Bufan noticed his daughter's strange behavior. If it was in the past, this Blackrock City Lord would have been more than happy to see her like this. But now, he could only sigh deeply. There's no need for compensation. I only have one condition, Yi Fei said calmly. Hearing his words, all the cheering voices stopped. Countless gazes were cast on Yi Fei. At this moment, he was so dazzling that Zhuang Linger suddenly felt that it was difficult to approach him. Yi Fei did not notice Zhuanglinger. He only looked at Elder Tian Xian and extended a finger, shaking it as he said, "Promise me one condition. For the next 3 years, the Heavenly Profound Sect is not allowed to take half a step into Blackrock City. If they violate this, I will kill one if I find one. If I find two, I will kill two." Strong, domineering. Yi Fei's words shocked everyone. It also shook Elder Tian Xian so much that his head hurt. Humiliation. This was definitely the greatest humiliation he had experienced in his life as an elder. Blackrock City had always been within the Heavenly Profound Sect's sphere of influence. But now, Yi Fei actually said that the Heavenly Profound Sect was not allowed to take a single step into Blackrock City. "Yi Fei, don't go too far." Elder Tian Xian's face was ashen as he roared these words. It was obvious how angry he was. "I'm going too far? Do you think it's not going too far for my family Yi and the entire Blackrock City to be your slaves? If anyone offends me, I will return the favor tenfold. Do you agree or reject my request?" Yi Fei's expression was calm. His spirit devourer sword emitted a dense sword light. If Elder Tian Xian did not agree, he would kill him with his sword. Once again feeling the shocking sword aura from Yi Fei's body, Elder Tian Xian could only endure the humiliation in his heart. It was still the same words. His Heavenly Profound Sect could not afford to offend such a monstrous youth. "I agree." Elder Tian Xian had no choice but to say these words. He was so aggrieved that he spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot. Then, he angrily wiped away the blood and stared at Yi Fei. "Young man, you are indeed arrogant. Unfortunately, the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. Young man, let me give you a piece of advice. When it's time to restrain yourself, it's best to restrain yourself." "Why should I restrain myself? Do you want me to be like you, bullying the weak and fearing the strong? My martial path requires me to forge ahead and become stronger when I meet a strong opponent. If anyone dares to disagree, feel free to fight me." A blazing sword aura suddenly appeared from Yi Fei's body. That sword energy soared into the sky, crushing the clouds into pieces. After saying these words, Yi Fei's martial heart became even more resolute. It was so loud that even the apathetic could hear it. When the geniuses in the city felt Yi Fei's rock-solid martial will, they fell silent and lowered their heads in shame. They were all reflecting on their past. Elder Tian Xian was also shocked. Then, his face was filled with bitterness. At this moment, he seemed to have aged several decades. His body was bent, and he lowered his head as he let out a long sigh. "It's no wonder. I've been cultivating for several decades, and am only a sect elder. You are able to comprehend sword intent at such a young age. So the only thing I'm lacking is my martial heart. How lamentable." Sigh. Elder Tian Xian left dejectedly. He no longer had his usual carefree and domineering attitude. Yi Fei's blow to him was too great and too cruel. Clap, 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 clap. The entire martial arts practice field spontaneously broke out in thunderous applause. Everyone was clapping with all their might as they looked at Yi Fei with fervent gazes. Blackrock City would also remember this moment. A young man had changed the fate of Blackrock City. This young man would also become the eternal pride of this small city. Family head Yi Fei. Yi Jian, Yi Chao, and the rest had already taken the lead and knelt down in front of Yi Fei. They wanted to take this opportunity to support Yi Fei to the peak of the family Yi. No one cared about Yi Tianxiong and Yi Wei's corpses anymore. Only a few stray dogs were pacing around the corpses with bloodshot eyes. At this moment, the Blackrock City Lord let out a heavy sigh. The thing he was most afraid of had happened. After this incident, the hegemony of Blackrock City had been transferred from the City Lord's residence to the family Yi and Yi Fei's hands. Luckily, this Yi Fei is a magnanimous person. As long as I don't provoke the family Yi, I can still keep my position as City Lord. Chapter 62. Chapter 62 Imperial Courser. Even though Yi Jian and Yi Chao really wanted Yi Fei to become the head of the family Yi and lead them to greater heights, Yi Fei did not agree. Since he had already sworn to go to the Star Moon Holy Land and bring back his younger sister, Yi Shanshan, he was even willing to give up a marquis, let alone a mere family head position. Martial arts was Yi Fei's greatest pursuit. As long as he had enough strength, even if he didn't become the head of the family Yi, he would still be able to lead the family to greater heights and further heights. Therefore, Yi Fei only stayed at the family Yi for 3 days to pay his respects to his father and clean up the small courtyard where he and his sister used to live together. Then, without any hesitation, he turned around and left without looking back. It was time to return to Tianyan Wufu. Only by using the vast resources of Wu Province could he continue to stimulate the black energy of the undying sword soul and improve himself until he could step into the Holy Land. Xiao Fei, have you really decided to return to Wu Province? Over there, you're just a servant. But in our family Yi in Black Rock City, you can do whatever you want. Yi Jian was still unwilling to give up. In his heart, Yi Fei was not only someone he had watched grow up, but also the only young master in his heart. In the entire family Yi, only Yi Fei was qualified to inherit the position of the head of the family. Yi Jian wasn't the only one who thought so. Yi Chao, Yi Tianai, and the other elders who came to send him off also thought so. With Yi Fei's current strength, it wouldn't be surprising if he replaced the Blackstone City Lord. However, they had overlooked one thing. Ever since the family Yi had waved the whip and interrogated Yi Shanshan, Yi Fei no longer had any attachment to the family Yi. In order to bring Yi Shanshan back, Yi Fei was willing to pay any price and do anything. However, he wouldn't say this out loud so easily. Uncle Jian, Grand Elder, you should know that a dragon can't be raised in shallow water. Black Rock City is too small, and the martial arts world is too big. I'm still young. I can go out and make a name for myself. Yi Fei's eyes were resolute. He looked at Yi Jian and said, Uncle, after I leave, I'll leave the family Yi in your hands. Zhou Guang, you must assist Uncle and make the family Yi even stronger. Yi Jian and Yi Jian and Yi and Yi Jian, Yi Jian's and Yi Yi and Yi and Yi and Yi and Yi and Yi, Yi and Yi. Yi Chao and Yi Tianai promised at the same time. Zhou Guang, who is now a guest of the family Yi, also nodded quickly. Master, please don't worry. I, Zhou Guang, will definitely protect the family Yi. Hearing that Yi Fei was going to hand the family Yi over to him, Yi Jian's expression suddenly became very serious. He looked at Yi Fei and said, Yi Fei, remember this. No matter how much the family Yi has wronged you, this is still your home. If you have time, come back and visit us. If you encounter any difficulties, even if it costs the entire clan, we will support you without any complaints. Don't worry, Uncle Jian, I will. Everyone, take care. Yi Fei nodded vigorously and waved to everyone. Then, he turned around and rode away quickly. The journey from Black Rock City to Tianyan Wufu wasn't short. Yi Fei didn't want to waste too much time. As Yi Fei left, he didn't notice at all that a pair of bright eyes were watching him from the top of Black Rock City's city walls. Zhuang Ling only withdrew her gaze when Yi Fei's figure disappeared from her sight. She seemed a little depressed. Why? Why didn't he tell me before he left? He didn't even turn around to look at me. Before he left, Yi Fei would never have thought that after just 2 short encounters, he had already left an indelible mark in the girl's heart. Sigh. The mayor of Black Rock City stood beside his daughter. When he saw Zhuang Ling's dejected expression, he could only let out a long sigh. Linger, this is all my fault. If I didn't call you back, you wouldn't have encountered such a problem. Let it go. Yi Fei's talent is too strong. Our Black Rock City is too small. Many years later, when he achieves success in his cultivation and returns, we will have turned into a pile of dirt. I don't want to listen. I don't want to listen. Father, I hate you. I want to return to the sect to cultivate now. I must become stronger. Zhuang Ling covered her ears with both hands. Her face was filled with tears as she lowered her head and rushed down the city walls. The horse let out a whine. After carrying Yi Fei for more than 10 days, it was finally exhausted and couldn't run anymore. Yi Fei helplessly untied the reins and patted the horse's head. Go back to the grassland that belongs to you. Don't let anyone catch you again." The horse seemed to understand Yi Fei's words. It licked Yi Fei's hand and swayed as it walked into the forest. Yi Fei came to a wide road. He wanted to find a town and see if he could find another horse carriage. This was one of the disadvantages of being a martial master. If one wanted to travel a long distance, they could only rely on running or using the strength of animals. If one reached the martial grandmaster realm, they would be able to condense chi wings and fly in the sky. Rumble. Yi Fei was still thinking when a cloud of dust flew up in the distance. The sound of horse hooves sounded like they were going to crack the ground. After that, more than 100 soldiers wearing winter iron armor and holding a dragon flag quickly passed by Yi Fei without any expression on their faces. When he saw this group of soldiers, Yi Fei was also shocked. These 100 soldiers were all martial masters. How strong was their foundation that they dared to treat noble martial masters as ordinary soldiers? Hey, aren't those the Imperial City's dragon cavalry? Come to think of it, it has been many years since anyone from the Imperial City came to Wu Province. What are they doing here this time? What else? They must be here because of the big event in Wu Province. That's why they came here in advance. There are also 2 young men passing by. They looked enviously at the Imperial City's dragon cavalry chatting in the distance. Looking at their uniforms, they should be Wu Province's outer yard disciples. Like Yi Fei, they had just finished visiting their relatives and were rushing back to Wu Province. Yi Fei's heart skipped a beat. Last time in the 100,000 Mountains, he had killed 2 ghost guards of the Imperial family with his own hands and seized the spirit-devouring sword. Could it be that the news was leaked, so the Imperial family sent a large number of masters to investigate? With such worries in his heart, Yi Fei didn't dare to be careless. He walked over and greeted them. "Brothers, did anything big happen in Wu Province recently?" "Get lost. You are just a servant disciple. How dare you call us brothers?" The 2 young men were talking excitedly when they suddenly saw a man in servant-disciple uniform walk over. The round-faced young man on the left was about to scold him. Yi Fei didn't get angry. He just released his chi as a martial master and asked with a smile, "What's wrong? We are servant disciples. Can't we know what's going on in Wu Province?" Plop. The aura of a martial master wasn't something that 2 outer court disciples in the 7th or 8th stage of the martial path could withstand. The round-faced youth swallowed the curses that were about to come out of his mouth. He was pressed to the ground, unable to get up. "Senior brother, please have mercy on us." The other square-faced young man had some eyesight. He didn't have time to think about how a servant disciple could be a martial master. He quickly put on a respectful expression and said, "I know what senior brother is asking. These Imperial City's dragon cavalry must be here to observe the Fengyun list of Wu Province." The Fengyun list? Yi Fei frowned. Seeing that Yi Fei didn't even know about the Fengyun list, the square-faced young man had a strange expression on his face. He lowered his head and explained, "Senior brother, you don't know. The Fengyun list is a ranking list in Wu Province to determine the strength of the disciples. As long as you're on the list, you will receive a lot of training from Wu Province. Looking at the time, the Fengyun list should be updated soon." "I see. Looks like I can make a ranking list when I have time." Yi Fei was very interested in the Fengyun list. Usually, a ranking like this would be accompanied by a large amount of cultivation resources. Yi Fei didn't lack anything except a large amount of pills. As long as he had enough pills, he could continuously stimulate the undying sword soul to improve his strength and talent. What does the Wu Province's ranking have to do with the Imperial City? Why are they here to observe the ceremony? Yi Fei continued to ask. This time, both the square-faced young man and the round-faced young man looked at Yi Fei in disbelief. "Senior brother, don't tell me you've been cultivating so hard that you don't care about worldly affairs?" Recently, there's been a rumor that Princess Zhao Yu has decided to join Tianyun Wufu. These dragon cavalry must have come because of this. With this reminder, the image of a beautiful, naked woman appeared in Yi Fei's mind. Then he clenched his teeth. It turned out that it was that crazy woman. Speaking of which, although this woman was beautiful, her heart was extremely vicious. He had only seen her body and accidentally swallowed the extraterrestrial divine fire. That woman actually wanted to beat and kill him without even asking for the truth. Yi Fei didn't need to guess. He knew that Zhao Yu definitely had something to do with his demotion to a service disciple. Looks like I have to be careful when dealing with this princess. If she finds out that not only did I merge with the heavenly divine flame, but I also obtained the soul-devouring sword, Zhao Yu and the imperial family won't let me off easily. Yi Fei thought to himself. He tightened his grip on the soul-devouring sword wrapped in black cloth on his back, turned around, and strode away. Thank you, both of you. Take care, senior brother. There's no need to stand on ceremony. The round-faced young man crawled up in fear. However, he didn't notice that his companion, the square-faced young man, was already looking at Yi Fei's back in shock. Obviously, this person had recognized Yi Fei. A service disciple who had broken through to the martial master level had never happened in Wu province before. Chapter 63. Chapter 63. The attack of the masters. At this time, Yi Fei had no idea that he had already become a celebrity in Tianyin Wufu. At least in the outer yard, almost every outer yard disciple had heard of Yi Fei's experience. Many of them even talked about it during their leisure time. It wasn't strange that the square-faced youth could determine Yi Fei's identity. Yi Fei also did not know that not long after he turned to leave, the square-faced youth took out a stone with strange runes on it and whispered something to the stone. The more powerful Wu province was, the greater its sphere of influence would be. It was said that when Tianyin Wufu was at its peak, its sphere of influence spanned a radius of 10,000 miles. Even though Wu province was on the decline, Yi Fei still had to travel for half a day before he could see the tall city walls of Tianyin Wufu again. It was already evening, just a little bit away from nightfall. Phew, we're finally back. We don't have to sleep in the open anymore. We can finally have a good night's sleep. Yi Fei heaved a sigh of relief and walked towards a small forest not far away. As long as he passed through this small forest, he would be able to return to the area where the odd jobs disciples of Tianyin Wufu lived. Speaking of which, it was a coincidence. This small forest happened to be the one where Zhou Guang had been hunted down by 3 inner yard senior brothers. At that time, Yi Fei had even attacked and killed 2 of them. So much time has passed. I wonder if Wu province will pursue this matter? Yi Fei was a little worried, but he was not afraid. Wu province only stipulated that disciples were not allowed to kill each other, but did not state that they could not fight back when others wanted to kill them. This was one of the reasons why Yi Fei dared to come back to Wu province. Of course, there was another reason. When Yi Fei thought of this, a cold light flashed in his eyes, but quickly turned into doubt. Something's wrong. Yi Fei stopped in his tracks. After experiencing several battles in the 100,000 mountains, he had become very alert. Even the slightest movement could not escape Yi Fei's ears. But at this moment, Yi Fei discovered something very strange ever since he entered the forest. There was not a single sound around him. There wasn't even the chirping of insects, which was the strangest thing. Usually, insects are the most active at night. Who is it? Come out. Yi Fei suddenly stopped in his tracks and assumed a defensive posture. He seemed to be planning to rush out of the forest immediately. Crash! The sound of trees shaking violently came from the surroundings, followed by a surprised voice. Hey, you lowly commoner, it's already strange that you didn't die in the Arcana realm, but you can still sense our presence. 2 people walked out of the darkness. One of them was wearing a python robe. His handsome face was full of resentment as he stared at Yi Fei. Beside him stood a cold-looking young man. He looked like an inner courtyard disciple of the Wu province. His aura was definitely the strongest among all the martial masters Yi Fei had encountered. Yi Fei's heart sank. He had just shouted a few times. He hadn't expected that there would really be people lying in ambush here. One of them was none other than Wang Liang. It was Wang Liang who had framed him and forced Zhou Guang to trick him into going to the Fire Cloud Cave. It was also Wang Liang who had chased him all the way to the 100,000 mountains to silence him after realizing that his plan had failed. When Yi Fei had come out of the Sword Master realm, he had not seen Wang Liang. He had thought that Wang Liang had been killed by the two ghost guards. He had not expected that this person would actually escape and lay an ambush here in advance. Now that he had seen his enemy, his eyes would naturally turn red. Wang Liang, it's actually you. Yi Fei's eyes flashed coldly, but he did not act rashly. Instead, he looked at the young man beside Wang Liang. It's me, lowly commoner. You didn't expect that not only would I not die, but I would also ambush you here in advance. How dare you come back? You're simply courting death. Wang Liang glared at Yi Fei viciously. However, when he sensed Yi Fei's cultivation level, Wang Liang's expression changed drastically. How is this possible? You've actually broken through to the martial master realm. D*M. I didn't expect that you'd really obtain the inheritance of that martial venerable. Wang Liang had originally been guessing. Now that his guess had been confirmed, he was angry, jealous, and slightly fearful. The cold-looking young man, standing beside Wang Liang, snorted coldly. Wang Liang, look at you. You're just a piece of trash in the martial master realm. Even after obtaining the inheritance of a martial venerable, you're still a piece of trash. Wang Liang, you're not lying to me, are you? Wang Liang hurriedly said, Senior brotherly accent, you must be clear. I, Wang Liang, don't have the guts to lie to you. I saw this lowly commoner barging into the Sword King's secret realm with my own eyes. However, the strange thing is that when this lowly commoner barged in, the sword formation inside did not attack him. I suspect that he might have some kind of treasure on him. Wang Liang's words caused Li Xian's eyes to instantly light up. To be able to barge through the sword formation unscathed, such a treasure is indeed rare. Trash over there if you know what's good for you. Hand over your treasures and the Sword King's inheritance to me. Perhaps I'll let you die a quick death. We have no grudges. Why do you want to kill me? Yi Fei suppressed his anger. Through observing this person's aura, he actually felt an extreme sense of danger. Yi Fei did not want to act rashly. He wanted to play it by ear. Why would Senior Brother Li Xian need a reason to kill a piece of trash like you? Yi Fei, didn't you hear what Senior Brother said? Why don't you obediently kneel down and tell me what you obtained in the secret realm? Wang Liang scolded, using Yi Fei's authority to intimidate him. Yi Fei's expression did not change. He stared coldly at Wang Liang and scolded, Bastard, how can someone like you be worthy of being a duke in the future? Back in the secret realm, didn't you say that Tianyan Wufu was a gathering place for trash? You didn't want to stay here and wanted to follow those mysterious people to live a good life. Didn't you say so? Yi Fei understood that in a one-on-one fight, he might not be a match for Li Xian. If Wang Liang was here as well, it would be even more troublesome. Now he had to sow discord. At the very least, he could not let the two of them join forces to attack. Upon hearing this, Li Xian, who had been glaring at Yi Fei and exerting great pressure on Yi Fei, immediately shifted this pressure to Wang Liang. A gathering place for trash? Is what he said true, Wang Liang? You really said such a thing. How do you explain this matter? Li Xian raised his eyebrows. He was a conceited person, and Wang Liang's words had scolded him as well. Senior Brother Li X, I'm innocent. Cold sweat rolled down Wang Liang's forehead. In his heart, he cursed Yi Fei for being a jerk. He was about to die, but he still tried to smear him. Under the pressure of Li Xian's 7th-tier martial master aura, Wang Liang did not have the courage to lie. He could only sullenly kneel before Li Xian in front of Yi Fei again and point at Yi Fei with resentment. Senior brother, things are not like what this lowly commoner said. At that time, I had no choice but to say those words in order to escape. I did it to numb those mysterious people. Senior brother, you mustn't fall into his trap. This lowly commoner is clearly trying to sow discord between us. Wang Liang desperately tried to explain himself. Yi Fei suddenly said, Wang Liang, I must give you full marks for your ability to act like a grandson in front of others. Lowly commoner, I'm going to tear your mouth apart. Wang Liang jumped up in anger. If it weren't for Yi Fei's words, he wouldn't have to kneel in front of others twice. Wang Liang could no longer tolerate Yi Fei's poisonous tongue. He was going to beat this lowly commoner to death for watching him make a fool of himself. Li Xian frowned slightly when he saw Wang Liang's actions, but he did not stop him. Li Xian was also planning to let Wang Liang test Yi Fei before deciding whether to make a move. This was exactly what Yi Fei wanted. If Li Xian and Wang Liang worked together, he definitely wouldn't be able to stop them. However, if he fought Wang Liang alone, Yi Fei could use the devouring spirit sword to kill Wang Liang first before deciding whether to fight or stay. All of you stop. What are you doing? Wu Province prohibits private fights. Who dares to touch junior brother Yi? Suddenly, a cold rebuke interrupted Wang Liang's actions. Chapter 64. Chapter 64. The sword takes life. Yi Fei did not know many people in Tianyan Wufu, and even fewer people were willing to help him. Yi Fei recognized the figure in the distance even before she walked out of the darkness. Sister Bai, why are you here? Yi Fei was very surprised. He could understand why Wang Liang and Li Xian came to ambush him. Why was Bai Ling here? Why can't I appear here? Yi Fei, get behind senior sister first. I want to see who dares to attack you. Bai Ling's attitude was very firm. After all, she was the one who brought Yi Fei to Wu Province. She didn't take good care of Yi Fei and let Yi Fei be framed and get into big trouble. Bai Ling felt that she was responsible. This was also the main reason why she was willing to help Yi Fei repeatedly. Yi Fei was not an idiot. He quickly analyzed the situation in his mind and more or less understood why Bai Ling was willing to get involved in this mess. Sister Bai, you don't have to be like this. I've never blamed you and senior brother Zhou. Yi Fei stared coldly at Li Xian as he spoke. He knew that this person's appearance here must have something to do with the high-ranking elder who framed him. Now that Li Xian had come here, it was obvious that she wanted to kill him to silence him. Seizing the treasure was just a matter of convenience. Yi Fei, since you call me senior sister, then I won't let you get hurt. What's more, Wu Province forbids private fights. If they find one, they will be severely punished. Senior brother Li Xian, are the people of your array faction really unwilling to let go of even a janitor disciple? Bai Ling didn't leave. He looked at Li Xian and found that his expression was still very serious. Yi Fei immediately deduced two pieces of information from these words. First of all, Li Xian herself was very powerful. The force behind her must also be very powerful, so powerful that even Bai Ling had to be polite when talking to her. Secondly, it was very likely that Wang Liang's saber faction was not the only faction that set him up. Perhaps the elders of Li Xian's array faction were also involved. Wang Liang was just like him, a chess piece in the game of the upper echelon elders. However, no matter who it is that dares to use me as a pawn, I will not let them off. Yi Fei's gaze turned even colder. Wang Liang and Li Xian were both shocked to see Bai Ling here. Wang Liang immediately retreated to Li Xian's side with a guilty conscience and said in a panic, Senior brother Li Xian, what should we do? Bai Ling is the disciple of Elder Chun of the Sword Sect. If she tells others what happened today... Pa! Before Wang Liang could finish his sentence, Li Xian had already given him a tight slap across the face. Useless dog. She is just a woman. What is there to be afraid of? She has the elders behind her. Do you think the elders behind us are easy to mess with? After beating up Wang Liang, Li Xian turned her head to look at Bai Ling. Her face was still filled with arrogance as she said, Bai Ling, have you thought it through? Do you really want to go against me for the sake of protecting a piece of trash? Yi Fei is also a citizen of Wu Province. Now even his tendons and veins have been destroyed. Senior brother Li, why do you have to be so ruthless? Aren't you afraid that I will go back and tell the elders? Bai Ling also refused to back down. Although she was not as powerful as Li Xian, She would not compromise easily. Yi Fei stood aside with a wry smile. He felt that he had implicated Bai Ling this time. Would it be useful to tell the elders? He clearly felt a strong murderous intent from Li Xian. Ha ha! Tell the elders at Bai Ling, you are still too naive. Don't you know that it was the elders who ordered me to kill this piece of trash? Since you have interrupted our plan, Bai Ling, if you want to live, there is only one way, and that is to submit to me and then use your body to make me feel good. If you do that, I will consider keeping you as a plaything. A wicked light flashed in Li Xian's eyes. He looked at Bai Ling's body unscrupulously. There was one thing he did not say. That was, if Bai Ling was really willing to compromise and let him play with her once, Li Xian would still kill Bai Ling to silence her after he was satisfied. It's just a pity for this beauty. It seems that I have to play with her a few more times before she dies. It would be best if I tried all the tricks once. All kinds of dark thoughts ran through Li Xian's mind. His words completely enraged Bai Ling. Li Xian, if you dare to hurt a hair on my head, my sword sect and my master will not let you go. Yi Fei, let's run away. As long as we escape back to Wu province, I will definitely ask my master to uphold justice for us. Although Bai Ling was angry, she did not lose her mind. She knew that she was no match for Li Xian. With Wang Liang's help, she was no match for him at all. Yi Fei smiled bitterly and stood still. At the same time, he pulled Bai Ling, who was about to leave, and said, "Senior sister, where should we go? This is clearly a trap. If we escape, we will only die faster. Let's fight. Only by fighting can we fight for a chance to survive." But your strength. Bai Ling was extremely worried and was about to say something else. Seeing the woman he liked suddenly pulling someone else's hand, Li Xian felt that he was about to explode with anger. Wang Liang, why are you still standing there, you dog? I'll leave the trash over there to you. Torture him until he dies. As for Bai Ling, I want her to be cruelly played by me in front of this trash. Li Xian sneered and rushed towards Bai Ling with a gust of chilly wind. Seeing that Li Xian really dared to attack, Bai Ling's expression changed. She knew that it was really too late to escape now. She could only grit her teeth and rush towards Li Xian with her sword. Junior brother Yi, be careful. If you really can't handle it, just run away quickly. Bai Ling was at the 5th level of the Martial Master Realm. Although she could not defeat Li Xian, who was at the 7th level of the Martial Master Realm, Bai Ling could still hold on for a while. She really did not have much confidence in Yi Fei. Although Bai Ling had been shocked that Yi Fei had broken through to the Martial Master Realm, in anyone's opinion, Yi Fei was at an absolute disadvantage against a 3rd-level Martial Master. Wang Liang was even more complacent. When Li Xian made her move, he also sneered and rushed towards Yi Fei. Lowly commoner, you were lucky last time and escaped. This time, let's see where you can escape to. Kneel down now. Water Moon Blade Technique, Moon in the Well. Wang Liang frantically mobilized his 3rd-level Martial Master Realm True Essence and released a huge crescent-shaped blade light at Yi Fei. 13 sword style, 13 times critical hit. Yi Fei's lips curled into a cold smile. Did he really think that he would win just because he was at the 3rd level of the Martial Master Realm? If Bai Ling had not rushed over, Yi Fei would have killed this man. Of course, it was not too late now. He had met a condition that hadn't existed before. Li Xian had been completely held back by Bai Ling. This meant that Li Xian would not be able to deal with him for the time being. Such a timing, such a night, it was simply the best night to kill someone. Die. The dazzling sword light danced like a long black snake that covered the night sky. The boundless sword chi, combined with the ferocious power of the Devourer's sword, allowed Yi Fei's sword to shatter the blade light in front of him on the spot. The sword light disappeared in a flash. In the air, there was already a burst of dense bloody light. Wang Liang screamed as he stared in disbelief at the Devourer's sword that had pierced his chest. His face was full of shock and regret. Yi Fei's sword was too fast and too powerful. It was so powerful that even a 3rd-level martial master like him could not withstand it. Before he died, Wang Liang's heart was filled with deep regret. He regretted that he had provoked Yi Fei. Unfortunately, It was too late for regrets. Puffed. Wang Liang spat out a mouthful of blood. The last bit of light in his eyes gradually dissipated. Only a deep fear remained on his face before it froze. Chapter 65. Chapter 65, He's Too Strong. A third-level martial master had actually been killed by a rookie who had just entered the martial master realm. This result was too crazy. Not only was Bai Ling stunned, but even Li Xian, who was about to take down Bai Ling, was shocked. Then, he greedily noticed the soul-devouring sword in Yi Fei's hand. Treasure. This was definitely a treasure comparable to a top-grade profound artifact. And it might even be higher. Haha. So what that Da Wang Liang said was true. You piece of trash, you actually obtained the inheritance of a martial saint. This demon sword should be your reward, right? Li Xian was stunned for a moment, then suddenly laughed wildly. She didn't care about Wang Liang's death at all. What? The inheritance of a martial saint? No wonder they wanted to kill Yi Fei. Junior brother Yi, you actually had such a fortuitous encounter. Bai Ling was very surprised. After discovering that Yi Fei had such a treasure, Li Xian was no longer willing to tangle with Bai Ling. She immediately abandoned Bai Ling and rushed towards Yi Fei. She scolded coldly, "Boy, trash like you is not qualified to have such a treasure. You'd better hand it over immediately. Such a treasure can only be fully utilized in the hands of an elite like me." Yi Fei looked coldly at Li Xian, who was rushing over. Suddenly, a cold light flashed in his eyes. With a shake of the devouring spirit sword in his hand, he instantly stabbed out. Li Xian, I have no enmity with you, but you want to kill me and humiliate senior sister Bai Ling. Today I will kill you, you scum. Sword 13 style. As Yi Fei spoke, a terrifying sword beam pierced towards Li Xian like a shooting star. However, Li Xian ignored it and only snorted coldly. A dense array of runes had already appeared around his body. Vajra formation, stellar, energy protection. Trash. Do you think that just because you killed Wang Liang, you can fight with me, an elite of the 7th level martial master? In front of my formation runes, you are not even as good as trash. Li Xian was incomparably arrogant. She actually stood in place and allowed Yi Fei to stab her without any injuries. Yi Fei was shocked. The methods of the Array faction were indeed terrifying. This Li Xian had actually carved runes on his body, forming something like a defensive barrier that blocked his attack. Soon after, Yi Fei felt flags flying toward him one after another. Bai Ling's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly warned, Yi Fei, be careful. That's an Array flag. Li Xian wants to trap you with the Array. Hurry up and run. Escape? Is that possible? In front of me, a 7th level martial master. No matter if it's you, Bai Ling, or this trash opposite you. You are just my playthings. Li Xian's expression became colder and colder. Faint threads of strange silk were emitted from his body and connected to the small flags that flew out. Yi Fei's heart sank. He understood that Li Xian was about to activate the Array. Although he was not familiar with the Array, he would not retreat. In martial arts cultivation, if you don't advance, you will retreat. My martial arts must be strong when I meet strong opponents. Kill. Yi Fei did not retreat and still went forward without any scruples. Li Xian was undoubtedly the strongest martial master Yi Fei had ever met. Now, he wanted to see how big the gap was between him and Li Xian. Junior brother Yi, you are crazy. Bai Ling widened his eyes in surprise when he saw that Yi Fei ignored his warning and rushed directly to Li Xian. The corners of Li Xian's mouth curled up into a sinister smile. Reckless trash. Do you think you are qualified to fight with me by relying on a top-grade profound weapon? You're not qualified. Whether I am qualified or not, we will know after we fight. So what if you are at the 7th level of the martial master realm? If you provoke me, I will kill you, even God. Kill, kill, kill. Yi Fei shouted the word kill 3 times in a row. Finally, he felt that the murderous intent in his body had reached its peak. He immediately calmed down and communicated with the devouring sword essence seed in his body. Boom! The sword rushed to the sky. The murderous intent was boiling. The spirit-devouring sword suddenly emitted a fierce and murderous intent, accompanied by the weak sword essence released by the devouring sword essence seed. Yifei used all his strength in this sword attack. A resplendent sword light instantly tore the space apart. Those small flags that were floating towards him were also shattered by the shockwave. Barf! Li Xian suddenly spat out blood. He was at the critical moment of activating the formation. He never thought that Yifei's sword attack would be so terrifying. It actually shattered all the formation profound weapon that he carried with him. How is it possible? This guy is obviously a trash at the first level of the martial master realm. Why does he give me the feeling that he is more terrifying than a 5th level martial master realm expert? Li Xian retreated frantically. Although the formation master was powerful, he had a weakness, which was that he could never be approached. Once he was close, Li Xian could only use 50% of his strength. It was precisely because Yifei understood this point that he decided to stake everything on this one throw and directly charge forward to fight Li Xian head-on. As long as this fellow didn't have time to set up the formation, he might have a chance to win. Li Xian, where do you think you're going? You are a 7th level martial master realm expert. If you have the ability, stand still. Let's fight with real swords and spears. Yifei was incomparably cold. The spirit-devouring sword in his hand was faster than the previous one. Even if he did not have a specific martial art move, it did not matter if he used a move or not in front of the spirit-devouring sword that had the sword essence. Li Xian, a 7th level martial master realm expert, was actually forced to retreat in a sorry state by the trash in his eyes. Li Xian was so angry that he almost vomited blood. His face was gloomy. He forcibly suppressed his anger and continued to retreat. As long as he put a little distance between them, he would have time to arrange the formation again. Li Xian believed that with his strength of the 7th level martial master realm and the powerful formation he had mastered, he would definitely be able to blast Yifei to pieces. Oh my god, Junior brother, you actually forced Li Xian to retreat. It seems like he is even suppressing Li Xian. Bai Ling was dumbfounded. When Li Xian attacked Yifei, this scene was definitely something that Bai Ling had never dreamed of. Li Xian, a 7th level martial master realm expert, actually could not beat Yifei, a 1st level martial master realm expert. When this news spread back to Wu Province, the elders of Wu Province would probably not believe it. What made Bai Ling feel even more incredulous was that Yifei was actually releasing sword essence. They were both sword cultivators. Even though the sword intent on Yifei's body was extremely weak, Bai Ling would definitely not be wrong. Even if she was wrong, the sword in her hand would definitely not be wrong. Once the sword essence was released, all swords would submit. If Bai Ling had not been suppressing it, her sword would have immediately submitted to Yifei's sword essence. In addition, Yifei still had a very powerful devil sword in his hand, which seemed to have been passed down by a senior martial venerable. When she thought about it carefully, Bai Ling was so scared that she almost screamed. Only then did she realize that Li Xian had been beaten so badly by Yifei. It was not because Li Xian was too weak either. It was because Yifei was too strong. If that sword essence alone were spread back, the entire Wu province would be shocked. What made Bai Ling feel ridiculous was that such a peerless genius was actually regarded as a piece of trash, whether in the family Yi or in Wu province. Who had ever seen such a powerful piece of trash? Who had ever seen such a monstrous piece of trash? If Yifei was a piece of trash, Bai Ling estimated that there were no geniuses in the entire Wu province, or even in the entire Zhaoyang. He is clearly a peerless genius. Bai Ling murmured as she watched the fierce battle. Suddenly, she felt a little confident that Yifei could defeat Li Xian. The battle lasted for a long time. At this moment, Yifei finally caught a flaw in Li Xian's defense. With unparalleled power, the devouring spirit sword once again slashed at Li Xian's protective array. Boom! There is a sound of a landslide in the air, followed by Li Xian's scream. His protective array finally could not withstand the attack and was shattered by Yi Fei's sword. Even his face was cut by the sword qi. Chapter 66. The 14th Sword. As Li Xian spoke, the clothes on his body burst open. Mysterious symbols could be seen on his naked body. These were the formation inscriptions inscribed on the body by an inscription master. They used the body as the foundation to form a powerful protective formation. What Li Xian had inscribed on her body was the Vajra formation. It was capable of activating stellar energy to protect her body. Her defense was extremely powerful. But at the same time, if the Vajra formation was broken through, Li Xian would also suffer enormous injuries. At this moment, Yi Fei saw that after Li Xian's clothes burst open, most of the formation inscriptions on his body collapsed along with the Vajra formation. Blood flowed along the veins and covered his entire body. He looked seriously injured. But what Li Xian did next was definitely beyond Yi Fei's expectations. After suffering from the backlash, Li Xian did not immediately heal himself. Instead, he kept using his vital essence to shatter his own veins and paint the formation inscriptions on his body with his blood. From afar, the formation inscriptions on Li Xian's body looked like they were painted with blood. Yi Fei was very shocked. Then, he felt his heart skip a beat. Oh no, I have to stop him. Yi Fei did not know what Li Xian was doing. But Li Xian was doing something that looked like self-harm at this moment. If he was not crazy, then he was probably going to use some powerful formation. At this moment, Yi Fei certainly would not let Li Xian proceed smoothly. Kill! The soul-devouring sword shone with a cold light. Yi Fei rushed in front of Li Xian. The dazzling sword light immediately enveloped Li Xian. But then, Yi Fei could not help but cry out in surprise. What's going on? My sword qi was actually repelled back. Yi Fei's powerful sword did not hurt Li Xian. Instead, a terrifying backlash force made him spit out a mouthful of blood and his body retreated dozens of meters. Damn it! That Li Xian actually drew 2 sets of spell formations on his body. After breaking his Vajra spell formation, he made a blood spell formation. A 7th level martial master expert is indeed not that easy to kill. Yi Fei spat out a mouthful of blood and stabilized his body. He raised the devouring spirit sword and was about to charge forward. At this moment, Bai Ling finally reacted. She hurriedly stopped Yi Fei and said, Yi Fei, don't be rash. Li Xian has been forced into a corner by you. She has already used the most powerful Blood Soul Array. It is said that Li Xian's Blood Soul Array is formed by condensing a Blood Tiger Bee Soul of a 10th level demon beast. If it is summoned, it will instantly have the combat strength of a 10th level martial master. 10th level martial master? Yi Fei sucked in a breath of cold air. He had exhausted all his means, but at most, he could only suppress Li Xian. He could not kill her. If what Bai Ling said was true and Li Xian summoned another 10th level demon beast to help him, he would definitely be no match for her. Sister Bai, since you know about the Blood Soul Array, you must know how to break it, right? Yi Fei looked at Bai Ling nervously. Whether he could survive now depended on Bai Ling. Yi Fei was good at fighting. In terms of knowledge, Bai Ling, who had been cultivating in Wu province all year round, was more knowledgeable. Of course I know. The Blood Soul Array is one of the most powerful offensive arrays in Tianyan Wufu. It not only has a strong defense, but the beast souls it summons are also very powerful. However, it also has a drawback. If the summoning process is interrupted, the person using the Blood Soul Array will also suffer a huge backlash. Bai Ling also knew that the situation was urgent. If Li Xian really summoned the Blood Tiger Bee Soul, the two of them would definitely die. She gritted her teeth and quickly took out a black elixir and handed it to Yi Fei. Yi Fei, this is the energy burst pill. Master gave it to me to save my life. Take it and it will double your battle prowess, but it will only last for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. If you can't kill Li Xin within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, or let Li Xin successfully activate the Blood Soul Array, then the ones to die will be us. Li Xion's expression changed drastically at Bai Ling's words. He would never have thought that Bai Ling would give such a precious thing to Yi Fei. Li Xian cursed angrily. B*TC. Do you think you can do it with the energy explosion elixir? Trash like him can't break my Blood Soul Array. When I release the Blood Tiger Bee Soul, the two of you will both die. Ha! Li Xian looked arrogant, but she was still a little worried. She immediately sped up the drawing of the Blood Soul Array on her body. Sister Bai, don't worry. I won't let him get away with it. Yi Fei sneered. He could see that Li Xian was obviously guilty. He was immediately sure that Bai Ling's method would definitely work. Yi Fei didn't hesitate. As he swallowed the energy explosion elixir, he growled in a low voice. The spirit-devouring sword rushed toward Li Xian again with blazing sword light. No, you trash. Even if your strength is doubled, you will still die. Blood Tiger, kill him for me. Tear him into pieces. Li Xian panicked. Facing Yi Fei, who had taken the Yuan Burst Pill and had his combat power increased, Li Xian didn't care about the fact that the Blood Tiger hadn't fully appeared yet. She had already ordered the Blood Tiger Bee Soul to open its mouth and swallow Yi Fei whole. Bai Ling's heart almost stopped beating when she saw this. Kill 13th Sword Style. Yi Fei's expression was extremely cold. The energy explosion elixir had increased Yi Fei's combat strength, filling his body with infinite power. At this moment, he not only merged the spirit-devouring sword and the seed of sword intent, but also released the 13th Sword Style and Yi Fei at the same time. He was staking everything on one throw. He was going to fight for a chance of survival. Boom, 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 boom. The entire small forest was shaking. Wherever the spirit-devouring sword passed, the void was gradually shattered. The 13 sword lights had a critical hit of 14 times. As for why there were 14 sword lights, it was because Yi Fei had used the energy explosion elixir. After his strength had doubled, the critical hit of the sword lights had also been doubled. If a critical hit of 13 times was barely enough to deal with the Blood Tiger in front of him, then a critical hit of 14 times was not something the Blood Tiger could withstand. After all, Li Xian didn't have enough time to completely condense this Blood Tiger. This also doomed Li Xian's tragedy. Boom! The sword light of the spirit-devouring sword was invincible. The Blood Tiger's head was instantly pierced through by Yi Fei's sword and then exploded. Then, Yi Fei's figure passed through the explosion area and came directly in front of Li Xian. Li Xian, who is the trash now? Puff! Li Xian spat out a mouthful of blood. The shattering of the Blood Tiger immediately caused him to suffer a serious backlash. What was worse was that Li Xian had fed this Blood Tiger Bee Soul with his own potential and had always been connected to it. Now that Yi Fei had killed the Blood Tiger, it was equivalent to destroying Li Xian's foundation. From now on, he could only stay at the 7th level of the Martial Master Realm. There was no possibility of him breaking through. Li Xian absolutely couldn't bear such a consequence. He raised his head and stared at Yi Fei with incomparable hatred. He roared like a ghost. Yi Fei, you deserve to die. All of you deserve to die. Damn it, you killed my Blood Tiger and damaged my foundation. I will kill you all. No, death is too easy for you. I want you all to die in endless loneliness and pain. As he roared, Li Xian finally took out his last and most important life-saving trump card and activated it. Li Xian, go to hell. Yi Fei didn't know what it was, but when he saw the scroll, he instinctively felt an extreme sense of danger. He immediately waved the spirit-devouring sword and prepared to kill Li Xian in an instant. However, at this moment, Yi Fei also heard Bai Ling's frightened shout behind him. Li Xian, no. It's too late, bitch. Do you think that only your sword sect has life-saving treasures? Offending our array sect is the biggest mistake of your life. Boom. Chapter 67. Chapter 67 Demon Ceiling Tower Kill. The white light in the sky blinded Yi Fei's eyes, but with a distance of a fist, he could easily assassinate his target even with his eyes closed. But Yi Fei had clearly miscalculated this time. When the devouring spirit sword pierced out, there was no sound of flesh being pierced. This sword actually pierced through the air. This was simply impossible. When he used the 14th sword, he used his spiritual power to completely lock onto Li Xian's aura. How could this sword pierce nothing? When the blinding white light disappeared, Yi Fei hurriedly looked around. However, he was shocked to discover that he was no longer in the forest. Li Xian was nowhere to be seen. The place they were in had also become a very strange space. There was clearly a ground, but there was no sky or roof. The entire sky was gray and hazy. Strange, where's this place? How do we get here? Yi Fei's familiar voice came from not too far away. It was Bai Ling. Yi Fei quickly walked over and helped Bai Ling up from the ground. She was still a little dizzy. He said, "Sister Bai, are you okay? Can you tell what kind of array Li Xian is using this time? Are we seeing an illusion?" He sized up his surroundings. It was pitch black, but there were walls and stairs. In front of him was an ancient stone door. If this was an illusion, then it was too realistic. Was the array of the array sect really that powerful? Oh no, it must be the scroll that Li Xian used. I didn't expect his life-saving item to be a kind of teleportation array formation. But why didn't he teleport away himself? Why did he teleport us here? Bai Ling looked around in shock. Yi Fei was shocked. Only now did he realize that the scroll Li Xian had thrown out before was probably something similar to a teleportation array. However, Li Xian didn't teleport herself away. Instead, she teleported them here. Yi Fei did not think that Li Xian was being kind. After all, he had said that he wanted the two of them to slowly die in loneliness and pain. Then, the place they were teleported to would definitely be filled with danger. "Sister Bai, how is it? Can you tell where we are?" Yi Fei saw Bai Ling wandering around, so he walked up to her and asked, "Junior brother Yi, I'm afraid we won't be able to escape this time. Li Xian actually moved us to the interior of the Demon Ceiling Tower. This is known as the #1 forbidden area in Wu Province. Even martial honorable realm experts can't escape from this place. It seems like Li Xian really wants to trap us here and turn us into a pile of bones in pain." Bai Ling didn't know if it was because she was imagining herself becoming a pile of bones, but her voice was trembling. She looked at the two ancient seal characters on the stone door in the distance with a touch of despair in her eyes. Yi Fei didn't even need to ask. He could also guess that the two characters he didn't recognize were probably the Demon Ceiling Tower. As long as Bai Ling could recognize where they were, it would be easy to deal with them. Yi Fei thought for a moment and asked, "Sister Bai, don't you have something like a sound-transmitting talisman that can notify the elders of Wu Province to come and rescue us?" Bai Ling smiled bitterly and shook her head. "I do have a sound-transmitting talisman, but it can't be used inside the Demon Ceiling Tower. Even if the elders know that we are here in the end, no one will come to save us. Since ancient times, the Demon Ceiling Tower has been known to be a place where you can enter but never leave. Otherwise, why do you think Li Xian moved us here? What? This place can only be entered but not exited? How can there be such a strange place in Wu Province? Since this is a forbidden area, how can Li Xian move us here so easily?" Yi Fei didn't want to give up. He didn't want me trapped here. Bai Ling smiled bitterly. "Yi Fei, you don't understand the characteristics of the Demon Ceiling Tower. Forget it. Anyway, we are done for this time. I'll tell you this, so you don't have to worry about the Wu Province's ban. According to what my master told me, there are 3 forbidden areas in Wu Province. They're the Fire Cloud Cave, the Wind Cloud Island, and this Demon Ceiling Tower. You have already seen the Fire Cloud Cave. It is a most suitable place to cultivate fire-attributed true essence. As for the Wind Cloud Island, let's not talk about it. The most dangerous place is actually this Demon Ceiling Tower." Bai Ling recalled and said, "No one knows exactly when the Demon Ceiling Tower appeared and what it is suppressing. I only heard from my master that it appeared in Zhao City 3,000 years ago. Moreover, It will move on its own after a period of time. When the demon sealing tower first appeared, many forces in Zhao City thought it was a great opportunity. Martial arts grandmasters and venerables from various sects, Wu Province, the royal family, and even the Holy Lands flocked to the demon sealing tower to look for opportunities. This devil sealing tower was also strange. Anyone could easily enter, but no one came out. There was once a Holy Lands array grandmaster who had specially researched a two-way teleportation array that could pass through space, allowing him to teleport himself inside. However, there was no news of that array master after that. In the thousands of years since the demon sealing tower appeared, hundreds of venerables had entered it out of curiosity. There were records of them. As a result, there was no news of them after they entered the tower. Their soul lamps were extinguished one after another. Obviously, they had died in there. It was not until then that people realized that the demon sealing tower was the most dangerous place in the world. Every time it appeared, it would appear in the vicinity of some powerful forces. It would constantly attract the curious disciples of these forces to enter it and then die. Over time, when the demon sealing tower appeared, the powerful forces in the vicinity would immediately seal off the place and treat it as an absolute forbidden area. No one was allowed to approach it. 200 years ago, the Devil Sealing Pagoda had finally appeared within the Sky Fortune Martial House. This immediately caused the upper echelons of the Martial House to be greatly alarmed. They hurriedly used countless arrays to seal off this place, and also issued a very strict gag order. Besides the upper echelons of the elders and a few disciples with potential, no one else was allowed to take a single step near this place, nor were they allowed to mention this place. After carefully listening to Bai Ling's description of the demon sealing tower, Yi Fei's heart sank. Damn it, Li Xian, you are really ruthless. How could you trick me like this? Don't let me find a chance. I will make you pay 10 times for this. Yi Fei gritted his teeth. He was very angry. Bai Ling's face was full of sorrow when she heard this. She shook her head bitterly and said, Junior brother Yi, I'm afraid we won't have a chance to take revenge. The moment we entered the demon sealing tower, we were already sentenced to death. Don't you understand? Yi Fei said in a low voice, I don't need to understand. I will never give in. Sister Bai, don't be discouraged. Just because others can't find a way out doesn't mean that we can't. Believe me, I will definitely take you out of here. Junior brother Yi, you don't need to comfort me. Even those martial venerables entered but did not come out. What can we, two little martial masters, do? Bai Ling sat on the ground and hugged her legs. She looked pitiful and helpless. After all, anyone who fell into such a desperate situation would feel despair. Not only Bai Ling, but Yi Fei's heart was also in a mess. However, it wasn't Yi Fei's character to just sit there and wait for death. Even if he had to break his head and bleed, he still had to try his luck. Sister Bai, why don't we go inside the stone door and take a look? Maybe there are clues left behind by our predecessors that can help us escape. Yi Fei didn't want to give up so easily. Thus, he walked over and tried to push open the stone door. This action scared Bai Ling so much that her face turned pale. She hurriedly stopped Yi Fei and said, Junior brother Yi, don't open the door. Even so many martial venerables died here. There might be some terrifying demonic creatures inside. We're still very safe here. If we open the door, then we can't just wait here forever. Yi Fei sighed. He also knew that behind the stone door was extremely dangerous. However, compared to waiting here, Yi Fei would rather rush in and take a risk. Yi Fei immediately decided to ignore Bai Ling's advice and wanted to open the stone door. At this moment, an old voice suddenly came from around the two of them. Chapter 68. Mind Intent. Yi Fei and Bai Ling were the only two living people inside the demon sealing tower. Yi Fei and Bai Ling jumped in fright when an old voice suddenly rang out. Bai Ling's face had already turned deathly pale. She was so scared that she couldn't speak. Her master had told her long ago that a powerful demon was sealed inside the demon sealing tower. Who is it? A few drops of cold sweat appeared on Yi Fei's forehead. Although he was only a first-stage martial master, he could even fight Li Exin, who was a seventh-stage martial master, with the help of his mutated divine fire and devouring spirit sword. At this moment, Yi Fei couldn't sense the existence of the person who had spoken. How powerful was this person? It was very likely that he was a powerful existence that surpassed a martial master. Hee, that little girl over there, don't be too afraid. Although this old man is being suppressed by the demon's sealing tower, I have no intention of harming you. The old voice rang out again. However, Bai Ling didn't feel at ease when she heard this voice. Instead, she became even more afraid. Her voice trembled as she said, Yi Fei, we're finished. This demon is too terrifying. Not only has he survived thousands of years, but he can also peek into our inner thoughts. Seeing that Bai Ling didn't even call him junior brother and directly called him by his name, Yi Fei knew how terrified Bai Ling was at this moment. Sister Bai, don't be afraid. I've harmed you this time, but I promise that as long as I'm still alive, I won't let this demon harm you. Oh right, do you know where this demon came from? Yi Fei asked with a serious expression. To be able to survive thousands of years without dying, this demon sealing tower was definitely not suppressing a martial ancestor or a martial honor. It was definitely an expert stronger than a martial honor. Only such an expert could survive thousands of years without dying. Yi Fei's heart sank. He knew that he was most likely going to be in trouble this time. Hey, you little brat. Since you took this old man's devouring soul sword, you should have obtained the information I left in the sword. You actually don't know who this old man is? Inside the demon's sealing tower, the old man's voice sounded once more. In the air, a hunched figure that looked like an old man with one foot in the grave slowly walked out from the stone door. That's right, it had penetrated through. The old man that had appeared wasn't a physical body. It was merely a strand of spiritual consciousness. However, just by relying on spiritual consciousness, he was able to materialize a physical body. From this, one could see how terrifying this old man's strength was. How could Yi Fei not understand that the old man in front of him was a terrifying demon who had surpassed the level of a martial saint? Then, Yi Fei was extremely shocked. Senior, what are you saying? This spirit-devouring sword belongs to you. Yi Fei was greatly shocked. He was not the only one who was shocked. Bai Ling also looked at Yi Fei in shock and exclaimed, Yi Fei, the sword in your hand is actually the Evil Sword King's devouring spirit sword. Evil Sword King? So, you're not the first one to obtain this sword. You obtained it from someone else. No wonder you don't know who this old man is. Seeing how weak you are, you must have been set up by someone. The old man shook his head. His turbid eyes flickered with the light of wisdom. Yi Fei didn't have time to answer the old man's words. Even if he was going to die, he wanted to be a ghost that understood everything. Yi Fei stared at Bai Ling and continued asking, Sister Bai, what does the Evil Sword King's devouring spirit sword have to do with the demon sealing tower? Bai Ling looked at the old man with some fear. Seeing that the old man didn't have any hostility or killing intent, she forced herself to calm down and explain, I'm also not sure what the spirit-devouring spirit sword is used for. However, my master told me that 200 years ago, the Evil Sword King killed his way into our Wu province in order to break into the demon sealing tower. For some reason, the palace lord at that time and my master's master risked their lives to stop the Evil Sword King. In the end, both sides suffered great losses. So that's how it was. After Bai Ling's explanation, the evil demon Sword King's madness from back then had a reasonable explanation. The reason why Zhao Qianjun challenged the 9 sects and 4 prefectures of the state of Zhao was to find the demon sealing tower and then break in. At that time, the upper echelons of Tianyin Wufu must have received information that the spirit-devouring spirit sword in Zhao Qianjun's hands was the key to opening the demon sealing tower. Therefore, they risked their lives to stop and even snatch it. In the end, neither side had a good ending. After understanding all this, Yi Fei suddenly saw a glimmer of hope in his despair. He raised the spirit-devouring spirit sword in his hand and faced the old man. He asked sincerely, Senior, since this spirit-devouring spirit sword is yours, I'm returning it to its rightful owner. I wonder if Senior can let me and my senior sister go?" Yifei was very careful, and his tone was very respectful. He understood that when facing a terrifying demon that had been sealed for thousands of years, even 10 of him added together wouldn't be able to compare to a single finger of the old man. Since force couldn't solve the problem, Yifei began to try to negotiate with the old man and ask for a way to leave the demon sealing tower. The old man's eyes flashed with wisdom. He saw through Yifei's intentions with a glance. He didn't get angry, and his tone was still very calm. He said, "Young man, you want this old man to help you escape from here. Unfortunately, if you had brought this spirit-devouring spirit sword in 1,000 years ago, this old man would have had a way. 500 years ago, if you had been ruthless and sacrificed 99 revered martial artists, this old man would have had a way to escape. But now, this old man is like a lamp that has run out of oil. Not only am I unable to continue moving this demon sealing tower to find a way to escape, but I also can't help you escape from here. You'll end up like me, trapped here until you die." The old man finally sighed helplessly. These words made Bai Ling's body tremble. She had an expression of despair. She was still so young, but she was really going to be trapped here and die of old age alone. Then, like the others who had broken into this place, she would become a pile of bones in the end. No, there must be a way. Heaven never bars one's way. Senior, since you were able to send the spirit-devouring spirit sword out, that proves that you definitely have a way to break the seal of the demon sealing tower. If we are willing to help you escape, can you take us out? Yifei gritted his teeth and said, in order to survive, he was going all out. Even if it meant releasing a terrifying demon, he wouldn't hesitate. As if he understood Yifei's thoughts, the old man nodded. Then he shook his head. This old man was able to send the spirit-devouring spirit sword out that year, but I have already exhausted all my strength. Now, this old man is only a thought. I no longer have any ability to help you. Consider yourself unlucky. If you were the first to obtain the spirit-devouring spirit sword, you would have understood the message that this old man left in the sword. If you're not a revered martial artist or have comprehended sword intent, it is best not to casually barge in. Hearing this, Yifei's heart instantly brightened. Even if he was in such a desperate situation, he would not be discouraged and would not give up. As long as he had a breath left in him, he would fight for it. Yifei took a deep breath and said in a deep voice to the old man, "Senior, although I do not have the strength of a revered martial artist, I have already comprehended sword intent. I wonder if I can be of help to you?" Boom! A surge of sword chi surged out from Yifei's body. Within the sword chi, there was a faint devouring power. He had completely released the devouring sword intent seed in his body. This was the only way that Yifei could think of to save himself. Of course, he would not continue to hide it. The sword intent seed. Junior brother Yi, he has actually comprehended the sword intent seed. Bai Ling was extremely shocked. Although he had already expected this, Bai Ling's heart was still somewhat shaken when he felt the terrifying sword chi ripple from Yifei's body. At this moment, the old man's expressionless face revealed a hint of emotion. He stared closely at Yifei and said, "Genius." Young man, you are clearly only a martial master level 1, but you have actually comprehended the sword intent seed. No, it is not as simple as the sword intent seed in your body. There is something else in your body. Whoosh! The moment he finished speaking, the old man had already appeared in front of Yifei. His hand instantly reached out to grab him. Yifei's heart was filled with shock. Chapter 69. Chapter 69, 10% Sword Intent. At this moment, Yifei was extremely nervous. The undying sword soul was his greatest secret. According to the illusions he had seen, countless gods, demons, and liches would fight for it, even at the cost of their lives. Yifei was sure that the old man would not let him off if he discovered the undying sword soul in his body. Sadly, in front of this old devil who had lived for thousands of years, Yi Fei couldn't even struggle, let alone resist. He could only watch helplessly as the old man's eyes released a heart-palpitating demonic light and scanned his body. When the demonic light scanned his dantian, Yi Fei suddenly felt a slight tremor in his dantian. His invincible sword soul, which he could still sense earlier, actually shrank on its own at this moment, turning into a weak dot of light that existed between existence and non-existence. Yi Fei was overjoyed. He did not expect the undying sword soul to be able to hide itself. It was no wonder that no one had discovered it after so many years in his body. The old man's demonic light couldn't do the same. After a rough scan of Yi Fei's body, the old man retracted his gaze and frowned. What kind of messy aptitude is this? An acquired fusion with the extraterrestrial divine flame and a profound grade 1 dantian. These two things can't be any worse. How could you have comprehended the seed of sword intent so early? What? A profound grade 1 dantian. Bai Ling was shocked again. She clearly remembered that Yi Fei's dantian was Huang ranked 10th grade. How did it suddenly become Xian ranked? This kind of talent was rare even in Tianyin Wufu. Bai Ling then thought that Yi Fei might have obtained the inheritance of the evil demon Sword King. Only then did she feel relieved. Yi Fei heaved a huge sigh of relief. As long as this old man did not discover the undying sword soul, everything would be fine. Ignoring the old man's belittling of his talent, Yi Fei calmly said, "Senior, having a strong talent does not mean that one's comprehension is strong. Young man, you are right. The quality of one's dantian can be improved, but comprehension ability is something that is innate. No one can change it. Although your aptitude is poor, your comprehension ability is absolutely shocking." The old man was stunned for a moment, but he could not help but nod his head to express his approval. After all, the fact that Yi Fei was able to comprehend sword intent already proved that Yi Fei's comprehension ability was extraordinary. Of course, the old man would never have thought that Yi Fei's comprehension ability could be continuously improved by using the undying sword soul. Yi Fei struck while the iron was hot. He bowed respectfully to the old man and said, "Senior, I should be qualified to help you now, right? Haha, help me? Brat, if you had reached Martial Saint and comprehended 100% sword intent, you might have been able to help me a little." However, the current you is merely a first-layer martial master. You have only comprehended a tiny bit of sword intent. Not to mention helping me, you are already very lucky to be able to walk out of here alive. The old man sneered. Yi Fei was not angry at all when he heard this. He understood that the gap between him and the old man was like the gap between an ant and an elephant. There was no comparison at all. However, the old man still revealed an important piece of information. Forcefully suppressing his excitement, Yi Fei hurriedly asked, "Senior, do you mean that as long as I can comprehend the true sword intent, I can escape? You want me to guide you in comprehending sword intent?" The old man stared at Yi Fei as a wisp of wisdom flashed across his eyes. "I don't want to be trapped here. Furthermore, if I comprehend sword intent, it will also be beneficial to you. We are cooperating for mutual benefit," Yi Fei said solemnly. He knew that whether he could escape together with Bai Ling depended on the old man's decision. Cooperating for mutual benefit? The old man repeatedly chewed on Yi Fei's words. Suddenly, he sighed and said, "Forget it. I am already at the end of my rope. If I miss out on you, I might really be trapped here until I die. Young man, since you have comprehended the embryonic form of sword intent, I can guide you in comprehending the true sword intent. However, you have to consider it carefully. This process is extremely dangerous. If you force yourself to comprehend it, there are only two outcomes for you. 1. You are lucky enough to comprehend the true sword intent. 2. Your soul will be shattered and you will become an idiot on the spot. Do you succeed or not? You can choose for yourselves. I will first show you the power of a great success sword intent." The old man's figure suddenly disappeared. Following that, an illusory image appeared in front of Yi Fei and Bai Ling. It was a scene of majestic emperor holding a demonic sword similar to the spirit-devouring sword. He was fighting with a giant dragon. No one knew what realm the giant dragon was in. Just one dragon breath was enough to destroy a city the size of Tianyuan into a pile of rubble. What was even more terrifying was the sword radiance in the emperor's hand. The emperor only raised the demonic sword in his hand, and the entire sky was dark and almost devoured. Wah! However, Bai Ling could not take it anymore. She spat out blood, and her beautiful face was pale. What a terrifying sword intent. I only comprehended 1/10,000th of it, and my mind is about to explode. Oomph. That's because you are not talented enough. Even a peerless genius would find it difficult to comprehend my sword intent. Young man over there, are you sure you want to continue? The emperor's voice came from the void. Only then did Yi Fei realize that the emperor who was fighting with the giant dragon was actually the old man. It was no wonder that he could survive after being suppressed for 3,000 years. These old monsters were indeed more terrifying than the previous one. Just a memory of a scene was enough to make Yi Fei's head swell with pain. He was not much better off than Bai Ling. If he allowed the old man to display the entire scene, he might really end up like what the old man said. His soul would be shattered by the sword intent, and he would become a complete idiot. However, Yi Fei did not back down. He raised his pale face and gritted his teeth. Senior, please continue. I must comprehend the sword intent. I will not be trapped here to death. Yi Fei, you are crazy. No matter how talented you are, that sword intent is not something you can comprehend. If you continue, your soul will be destroyed. Bai Ling anxiously tried to stop Yi Fei. Yi Fei turned his head and smiled. His smile was very clean and bright. Sister Bai, you don't have to worry about me. If we stay, we can only wait for death. If we fight, we still have a chance. All right, do you still have those explosive yuan pills? It's best if you give them all to me. Yes, Master gave me a total of 3 pills to save my life. I still have 2 on me. Bai Ling took out another 2 explosive yuan pills. She could not help but reveal a hint of doubt in her eyes. The explosive yuan pills could only increase one's quintessential essence. It did not seem to have any effect on comprehending the sword intent. Yi Fei could not tell Bai Ling that he wanted to use these 2 high-grade pills to stimulate the black energy of the indestructible sword soul. As long as he had that black energy, his perception would increase infinitely. After swallowing the 2 explosive yuan pills, Yi Fei said in a very general manner, after taking the explosive yuan pills, I will be able to obtain stronger quintessential essence and protect my brain from damage. Bai Ling was a little relieved. There were indeed secret techniques that could convert quintessential essence into mind power to increase the brain's defense. She subconsciously thought that Yi Fei also possessed such a secret technique. The sovereign in the void kept sneering. Kid, do you think you can use it to strengthen your spiritual power? This memory of mine contains all of my understanding of swordsmanship. The amount of information can instantly destroy your spiritual power and scatter your soul. Are you sure you want to continue? Continue. Then you might die. I just want to get out. The emperor did not say anything else. He looked at Yi Fei with some appreciation. Then, the emperor's gaze became extremely sharp, like an indestructible sword. Boom! The sword light slashed towards the huge dragon. The void started to shake violently, and terrifying cracks appeared. Before the powerful dragon could react, it was already dead. The sword light did not stop. It even broke through the void and slashed towards Yi Fei. At this moment, the sword aura was monstrous. It was so dazzling that Bai Ling did not even dare to open her eyes. She was afraid that if she looked at it, her soul would be scattered. Therefore, she didn't notice that at this moment, Yi Fei's eyes were also dazzlingly bright. After absorbing the high-grade medicinal pills, the undying sword soul finally released a large amount of black energy. Yi Fei immediately used this energy to madly increase his perception. At this moment, Yi Fei felt that the world in front of him had changed. The sword aura that was piercing towards him was not sword aura, but all of the old man's understanding of the devouring sword intent. Because of this understanding, the amount of information was too great. For people with insufficient perception, just touching a strand of it would cause their brain to explode from the stimulation of this huge amount of information. However, Yi Fei was different. By relying on the black energy released by the indestructible sword soul, his perception immediately increased to a terrifying level. At this moment, Yi Fei looked at the sword light again. It was no longer a sword light, but a specific understanding of the sword Tao and the devouring power. I see. I was wrong from the start. The true sword intent is not to use one's mind to control the sword aura, but to use one's mind to fuse with the sword aura. My mind is the sword mind. I am the sword, and the sword is me. This is the true sword intent. Boom! After understanding this problem, the sword intent seed in Yi Fei's body suddenly shattered. At the same time, an even sharper sword intent that was at least 20 times stronger than before was released from Yi Fei's body. This was Yi Fei's will, and at the same time, the sword intent. Sword intent, I've understood it. Yi Fei roared and stood up. He did not even need to use his sword. With a casual point of his finger, a sharp sword aura shot out and heavily carved a sword mark on the stone door in the distance. Bai Ling was extremely shocked when she saw this. Chapter 70. Chapter 70. Infinite Heroic Souls. Bai Ling and the old man were extremely surprised that Yi Fei could comprehend the true sword essence so quickly, especially when he felt the strong sword intent from Yi Fei. Bai Ling, who was also a swordsman, could not help but have the urge to submit. Junior brother Yi, he's really too strong. Even my master has only comprehended the seed of sword intent, and not the true sword intent. However, Yi Fei has completely comprehended it in such a short time, Bai Ling said with a sigh. Hearing this, the old man sneered. Little girl, you are still too inexperienced. How can it be so easy to completely comprehend sword intent? It's true that this kid has comprehended sword intent, but it's only 10% sword intent. There's still a long way to go before he can truly master sword intent. The old man's words seemed to be a casual conversation with Bai Ling, but in fact, he was giving advice to Yi Fei. Yi Fei withdrew the sword qi on his body and stood up from the ground. He deeply agreed with the old man's words. Senior, you're right. The sword intent that I've comprehended is far inferior to the sword intent that you released. My sword intent is probably barely 10% of the sword intent. Yi Fei sighed. Haste makes waste. Although the undying sword soul could improve the quality of his dantian and his comprehension ability, it was not without limits. The sword soul could only allow him to comprehend at most. As for whether Yi Fei's sword intent could reach the large success stage in the future, it would depend on his own efforts and cultivation. Yi Fei looked at the old man and asked probingly, That's right, senior. Now that I have 10% sword intent, I should be able to help you. Perhaps I will have a chance to leave this demon ceiling pagoda? The old man nodded, then shook his head. I can't guarantee that we'll be able to leave this place. But since you've comprehended sword intent, it means that you already have the qualifications to enter the demon ceiling tower and fight the heroic spirits inside. Infinite heroic spirits? What's that? Yi Fei asked curiously. The heroic spirits are the vengeful spirits that the demon ceiling tower uses to suppress me. They are constantly consuming my life force. Of course, if outsiders barge in, they will also attack them until they become a part of the heroic spirits. The old man explained. That means that the martialists who barged in here in the past were not killed by you, senior, but by the heroic spirits inside? Seeing Yi Fei's comprehension of the sword intent, Bai Ling finally felt a glimmer of hope that he could leave this place. However, in the end, the old man's words made him feel despair. Yi Fei looked even more miserable. He simply wanted to stab the old man a few times. Yi Fei pointed at himself and said, Senior, there should be a limit to your jokes. Look at Senior's sister and me. We are only martial masters. if you let us go in and fight those martial grandmasters and martial supremacies, wouldn't we die even faster? Ha ha ha. Don't be impulsive, young man. Let me finish. The heroic spirits inside are very strong, but they also have a weakness. They will constantly adjust their own strength according to the strength of the person who enters. For example, if a martial grandmaster enters, the heroic spirit that appears will only be a martial grandmaster. If a martial master enters, the heroic spirit will only be able to display the strength of a martial master. The old man paused and looked at Yi Fei and Bai Ling pitifully. If you want to leave, you have to enter the demon ceiling tower and continuously fight the heroic spirits inside. I have calculated that as long as you can withstand the attacks of countless heroic spirits for 2 hours, you will have the qualifications to enter and exit the demon ceiling tower freely. What if we can't hold on? Yi Fei asked again. Then you can only be like those who have entered before. No matter what realm you are, only death awaits you. The old man sneered and finally reminded Yi Fei. Young man, I forgot to tell you. If you don't want to die too quickly after entering, you'd better not try to provoke the heroic spirit king. Even if you have mastered 10% of sword intent, you only have a 40% chance of killing the heroic spirit king. Finally, I wish you good luck. After saying this, the old man was about to disappear. Bai Ling immediately became anxious. Senior, are you not going in with us? Bai Ling wanted the old man to go in with them. At a critical moment, he might be able to save their lives. As if seeing through Bai Ling's little scheme, the old man smiled and shook his head. I am sealed by the demon ceiling tower and cannot enter the heroic spirit corridor. It is even more impossible for me to save you. If you want to live, you can only rely on yourselves. I hope you can succeed, even if this hope is extremely slim. The old man finally let out a long sigh, and his figure gradually disappeared. There was something he had not said all this time. Yi Fei was actually the 17th person who had successfully comprehended sword intent under his guidance. Moreover, each of the 16 people before him had better comprehension and talent than Yi Fei. Some of them even had very powerful special constitutions. However, all of them did not last more than 2 hours and died inside. Therefore, from the beginning, the old man did not expect Yi Fei and Bai Ling to be able to break through. He had guided Yi Fei purely because he had been suppressed for too long and was bored. He just wanted to find someone to talk to. Yi Fei, what should we do? Do we really have to break in? Bai Ling watched the old man disappear. She looked hesitant, not knowing whether to go in or not. Yi Fei's eyes were extremely firm. Of course we have to go in. There's only one passage here, and that is the stone door. If we don't want to be trapped here, we must go in and break in. Seeing that Bai Ling was still a little worried, Yi Fei immediately comforted her. Sister Bai, don't worry. After we go in, you deal with the weak and leave the strong to me. It's only 2 hours. This time, we will work together and get through this together. Yes, Yi Fei, senior sister will listen to you. Bai Ling's face was a little red. As the senior sister, she should be taking care of the junior brother, but now it was the other way around. Bai Ling felt ashamed. At the same time, she also realized that in her eyes, Yi Fei was no longer the youth who was bullied in Black Rock City. Instead, he was a man of indomitable spirit. Looking at Yi Fei's not broad but firm figure, Bai Ling did not know why her heart started to beat faster. Sister Bai, follow me closely. Yi Fei did not notice the change in Bai Ling's attitude because he was already holding the devouring spirit sword and taking the lead to push open the stone door. Behind the stone door, there was a very long passage. There was nothing unusual about it. Yi Fei and Bai Ling became extremely nervous at the same time. Yi Fei, let's hold hands to avoid any accidents. Bai Ling hesitated for a moment, but still said shyly. This was also the first time she had taken the initiative to hold hands with someone of the opposite sex. However, this had nothing to do with anything else. It was just to take care of each other. All right, Yi Fei nodded. He also felt that if they held hands, they could avoid being separated from each other in the event of an accident. Thus, the two of them held hands and officially walked into the corridor. There were no mechanisms or traps as they had imagined. The corridor was abnormally quiet. There were only two blurry figures standing in the middle of the corridor. Yi Fei and Bai Ling were shocked when they saw the figures. The two heroic spirits looked exactly like them. Even their realms were exactly the same. These are heroic spirits? They're nothing special. Bai Ling heaved a sigh of relief. The old man had made it sound so terrifying just now, but in the end, they only saw two figures that looked exactly like them. Sister Bai, let's take one each. You deal with the first stage martial master. Leave the fifth stage martial master to me, Yi Fei said in a deep voice. All right. Bai Ling also felt that fighting with herself was too awkward. Killing the heroic spirit that had turned into Yi Fei was exactly what she wanted. Kill. When Yi Fei saw Bai Ling take the lead and charge at the first stage martial master, he did not hold back either. He directly charged at the fifth stage martial master heroic spirit that had turned into Bai Ling. A resplendent sword light whizzed out. Given Yi Fei's current strength, he was naturally able to slice the heroic spirit in half in an instant. However, the strange thing was that the heroic spirit did not dodge. It allowed Yi Fei to kill it. Not only did the two halves of its body not bleed, but they also instantly turned into two new Bai Ling. They smiled strangely at Yi Fei. F***CK. What the hell is this? Yi Fei had not taken the heroic spirit seriously at first. However, when he saw this scene, he realized that the heroic spirit was indeed difficult to deal with. Continue killing. He wanted to see if this heroic spirit really had an immortal body. Boom! Boom! Two resplendent sword lights swung out at the same time. Even though he was facing two fifth-stage martial master heroic spirits, Yi Fei still killed them one by one. There was no other way. After comprehending 10% of the sword intent, Yi Fei's strength could no longer be measured by an ordinary first-stage martial master. Even if Li Xin, a seventh-stage martial master, came to deal with Yi Fei again, she would definitely not be a match for Yi Fei. As expected, the two Bai Ling were instantly torn to shreds by the sword light. However, Yi Fei did not look happy. Instead, he widened his eyes in shock, as if he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. What had he just seen? The two Bai Ling that he had slain had split into four at that instant, who were laughing sinisterly at him at the same time. Yi Fei hurriedly looked over at Bai Ling's side, only to discover that the situation on Bai Ling's side was even worse. She had killed them too quickly. The number of heroic spirits on that side had already increased to 8. All of them had strange smiles on their faces as they continuously rushed towards Bai Ling. The helpless Bai Ling could only scream in fright as she continuously killed all the first-stage martial master heroic spirits. Yi Fei broke out in a cold sweat when he saw this scene. Chapter 71. Chapter 71. Slay the heroic spirit king. Sister Bai, stop killing these heroic spirits. When Yi Fei saw that Bai Ling was still waving his sword randomly and killing those martial master level 1 himself, a large amount of cold sweat rolled down Yi Fei's forehead. He hurriedly reminded Bai Ling. His body was rapidly approaching Bai Ling's side. Hee. Of course, the 4 heroic spirits wouldn't let Yi Fei leave so easily. They let out a strange laugh and charged at Yi Fei with a sinister grin. Scram! Left with no choice, Yi Fei could only use Sword 13. With a 13-fold critical strike, it immediately split one of the heroic spirits into 2. Then it began to rapidly split apart. These heroic spirits were too cunning. They actually wanted Yi Fei to kill them so that they could split into more companions. Sister Bai, we can't continue killing these heroic spirits. The more we kill, the more of them there will be. Yi Fei finally came to Bai Ling's side and stood back to back with her. Around them were dozens of hero spirits who had split up. They slowly surrounded them and sneered at the two of them. Bai Ling, who saw this scene, was really frightened this time. Yi Fei, what's going on? Bai Ling sounded like she was about to cry. Even though Bai Ling was a martial master, she was still a woman. She had never experienced such a strange scene. Yi Fei rolled his eyes. You asked me, but who should I ask? However, there was one thing that Yi Fei already knew, and that was that he absolutely could not kill these heroic spirits. Otherwise, they would form an absolute advantage in numbers. No matter how strong he and Bai Ling were, they would eventually die here. Sister Bai, let's try to use our quintessential essence to repel these heroic spirits. As long as we don't kill them, they won't pose a fatal threat to us, Yi Fei suggested softly as he looked at the heroic spirits that were closing in on them again. Okay, let's do that. Bai Ling was not stupid. He was just scared by these strange, heroic spirits at first. Now that he had reacted, Bai Ling immediately used his vital essence to form a gust of wind, constantly forcing the heroic spirits to retreat. Scram! Yi Fei brandished his spirit-devouring sword and attacked the powerful heroic spirits. He worked with Bai Ling and fought for a while. Both of them felt that if they continued to hold on like this, they might even be able to hold on for 2 hours. Hee. The heroic spirits let out strange laughter. They realized that they couldn't get close to their prey, and the prey didn't intend to kill them anymore. They actually did the same thing again. In front of Yi Fei, they started to attack each other and kill their companions nearby. Puff, puff, puff. One by one, the heroic spirits died tragically on the ground. But soon, 2 identical heroic spirits split from the broken bodies, grinning hideously. Fear. It was unprecedented fear. The terror of the heroic spirits not only scared Bai Ling. Yi Fei also felt his scalp go numb. These heroic spirits could actually split themselves. If they continued to split, they would soon have an absolute advantage in numbers. No expert would be able to resist such an army of heroic spirits. Bai Ling finally burst into tears. He wiped his tears and said, Yi Fei, we're finished. I finally know why Wu Province treats the Demon Ceiling Tower as an absolute forbidden area. Let alone us, even all the elders in Wu Province would not be able to escape death if they entered. Roar! To make matters worse, just as Bai Ling was about to break down, another tall heroic spirit walked over from the end of the corridor in the distance. Wherever it passed, the heroic spirits that were still fighting nearby retreated to the side like subjects meeting their king. They did not dare to approach. Yi Fei could clearly see a dead, heroic spirit at the place where the heroic spirit king stood. It was about to split, but when it sensed the heroic spirit king's aura, the splitting heroic spirit turned into a ball of blood and died completely. The heroic spirit king can actually kill heroic spirits? Yi Fei's eyes suddenly lit up when he saw that the heroic spirits could split themselves even if they were not killed. Yi Fei also felt the same despair as Bai Ling. Then, when he accidentally saw the heroic spirit king appear, Yi Fei could not help but have an extremely bold idea in his mind. Since these ordinary heroic spirits cannot be killed, what about the heroic spirit king? What will happen if I kill this heroic spirit king? Sister Bai, I might have a way to deal with these heroic spirits. Help me block these ordinary heroic spirits. I will try to kill the heroic spirit king that appeared. Yi Fei gritted his teeth. Bai Ling was so shocked when she heard this that she forgot to cry. She just stared blankly at Yi Fei and said, Yi Fei, are you crazy? Did you forget what that senior said? He told us to never provoke the heroic spirit king. Even if you have mastered 10% of sword intent, you only have a 40% chance of killing it at most. 40% is fine. It's better than waiting for death here. Sister Bai, cover me. I will try to rush over. Are you okay with that? Yi Fei licked his cracked lips. When he thought about the adventure that was about to begin, what he felt wasn't fear, but excitement. In order to survive, Yi Fei had to give it a try even if the chances were lower, let alone 40%. Kill. My life is in my hands, not in the hands of the heavens. Sword 13 style. Boom. Terrifying sword intent was released from Yi Fei's body. This time, he did not hold back and fully unleashed his combat strength to the limit. Bai Ling sighed when she saw Yi Fei make his move. She thought, we're going to die anyway. If junior brother Yi wants to go crazy, then I can only accompany him to the end. With this thought, Bai Ling stopped crying, and a heroic feeling suddenly appeared on her body. Kill! Sword suppresses the river. Bai Ling shouted. She also used her strongest sword technique. The attack of a 5th-level martial master was still very terrifying. The surrounding heroic spirits that tried to stop Yi Fei instantly collapsed. Sword 13 style. Explode. Boom! Yi Fei roared. He seized this opportunity and instantly broke through the heroic spirit's encirclement, charging directly at the heroic spirit king. Originally, the heroic spirit king had walked to the middle of the corridor and stopped in its tracks. It only looked at Yi Fei mockingly. It had never expected that this little ant in front of it would actually dare to break through the heroic spirit king's defensive line and charge directly at it. Roar! The heroic spirit king was furious. At the same time, a boundless and terrifying pressure was released from its body. 10th level martial master. This heroic spirit king's strength was actually at the 10th level martial master. Any normal person who saw this scene would be so frightened that they would turn around and flee, not daring to provoke this powerful heroic spirit king again. However, Yi Fei refused to believe this. F***CK. So what if you are at the 10th level martial master? I don't believe that I will die here because of a vengeful spirit. Take this. Boom! The spirit-devouring sword carried a terrifying heat as it slashed at the heroic spirit king's head. Before the sword arrived, the terrifying sword intent had already cut the surrounding heroic spirits into powder. Roar! The hero spirit king continued to roar. His voice was filled with disdain. A 1st-level martial master ant had actually dared to challenge a 10th-level martial master king like him. What a joke! The heroic spirit king didn't even need to use any martial techniques. It reached out its hand in disdain, wanting to grab Yi Fei's spirit-devouring sword and tear this ant, who had dared to provoke it, into pieces. At this moment, a strange smile suddenly appeared on Yi Fei's face. That's right, the heroic spirit king was indeed very strong. Just by relying on 10% of his sword intent, Yi Fei felt that even a 30% chance of killing the heroic spirit king would be impossible, let alone 40%. However, the old man and Bai Ling had never imagined that Yi Fei would still have a trump card. Inside his body was the most powerful and mysterious, undying sword soul. He had to go all out. The moment the heroic spirit king made its move, Yi Fei steeled his heart and ignored the spirit-devouring sword. He immersed all his consciousness into his dantian and established a connection with the spirit-devouring sword. Clang! The spirit-devouring sword let out a long cry, as if it had sensed the aura of the undying sword soul's awakening. Its entire body started to tremble. The undying sword soul, the Emperor of Swords. The moment it awakened, the entire demon-ceiling pagoda started to tremble slightly, as if unable to resist the might of the undying sword soul. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.